Good morning. Is President Trump's proposed peace plan for Ukraine on the brink of collapse?
Well, after a meeting of European leaders in London, President Zelensky is pushing back hard, signalling he will not accept any agreement that requires surrendering Ukrainian territory.
Well, Kyiv is set to send the US president a Europe-backed counter-proposal today. That's following the emergency Downing Street summit.
But can this renewed diplomatic push tip the scales towards peace, or will unresolved questions over security and territory keep the war raging?
Elsewhere, 2 Afghan small boat migrants have been jailed following the rape of a 15-year-old girl in Leamington Spa.
A danger to life weather warning is in place as Storm Bram batters Britain with a month's worth of rain and winds of up to 90 miles an hour.
Thing is happening right now. We know that Labour didn't want to have a national inquiry. They've been stalling, and it looks like they've kicked it into the long grass.
Kemi Badenoch tells the government that a nationwide grooming gangs inquiry must leave no stone unturned. She's calling to ensure that ethnicity and religious background are taken into account.
And pubs under pressure. Landlords are warning the government of dire consequences if planned increases in business rates come into force, with many fearing closure.
And sport this morning, Wolves are in a terrible state at the moment as they lose again, this time 4-1 to Manchester United. The Champions League returns tonight with Liverpool, Chelsea and Spurs all playing. And is there still magic left in the FA Cup as the Minnows join the big boys in the third round?
I'll have the very latest on Storm Bram moving across the UK during the rest of the day, bringing the risk of flooding as well as disruptive, even damaging winds. Coming up soon in the forecast.
Good morning. It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Mark White. This is GB News Breakfast.
Mark, very happy to have you with us this morning.
Oh, it's delightful to be here. You
Morning,
grumpy
Mark.
old uncle.
Lovely to
Thank
see
you.
And
you thought you'd get rid of one old grump and it's just been replaced by another.
OK, well, it was nice having you on the show, Mark, for your last one. And
you made it here despite the wind and the rain.
Well, yes, it wasn't too bad. It was just a bit of rain outside the door until I run 2 yards into the taxi.
so you only had to do 2 yards. You got a taxi. I had to walk.
Very nice.
The umbrella inside-out thing.
Oh, I was having a very hard time with my brolly this morning.
So you probably only had 2 yards, didn't you?
Chucking it down. It was only 2 yards, but I made it very dramatic because I was worried about my hair.
Right, half a mile.
But listen, further north, it is absolutely horrific. There's no doubt.
It's awful, isn't it?
I mean, even the name Storm Bram, you know, like old
Bram Stoker. Is that where it comes from, do you think? Look, that is a bit... Yeah,
so.
I know.
So listen, if you're out and about there this morning, if you're listening on GB News radio, perhaps driving this, take care because it really is gusty, a lot of torrential rain on the roads. And if you've actually got anything that might be worth us putting on air, take a picture or a video. I know it's a bit dark out there at the moment, but even just the rain battering on your window.
You know, it's the aquaplaning. That's the scary thing. So, you know, when you're going along and all of a sudden you get that load of water, and then that's really scary.
The whole car vibrates almost, doesn't it? It's really strange.
Scary.
Yeah, so it's a month's worth of rain that's expected today in some parts of the UK, and wind gusts of up to 90 miles an hour. So there are weather warnings in place, but do take care if you're out and about on the roads today.
Don't take any videos of aquaplaning.
Yes, especially when you're driving. It's probably not a good idea, is it, really?
Yeah, but I don't think you should send it to that one. I think it's the old one. It's the gbviews@gbnews.com is the email address, and then you can attach photos and things. Yeah, I'm being told, yes, that is correct.
Right, good.
So gbviews@gbnews.com. There you go. Right, let's have a look at our top story today, where negotiations to end Putin's war reach a critical stage as European leaders are poised to give a mammoth donation to Ukraine.
Well, up to £100 billion of frozen Russian assets is set to be released in the coming days, with the Prime Minister marking this as a critical stage in ending the war.
Yes, Sir Keir Starmer welcomed President Zelensky, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and President Macron of France to number 10 Downing Street to host a coalition of the willing meeting. He was hopeful that all leaders would provide a deal to help Ukraine with more financial support that would come into force before Christmas.
Well, with peace deal talks between both Ukraine and the US over the weekend, could these efforts be enough to end 4 years of conflict? Well, we're joined now by Fraser Myers, Deputy Editor of Spiked Online. Fraser, obviously yesterday, I mean, it's about the optics, isn't it? The big bear hug from Sir Keir Starmer on the doorstep of number 10 for President Zelensky. But, I mean, is it going anywhere?
It does feel, you know, as if the Europeans in a lot of this have been playing a kind of sidelined role. We've spent the past few weeks looking at, you know, the negotiations really directly between the US and Russia. People will recall last week Putin rejected a deal that was pretty favourable to him, let's face it, because some of the terms that he is demanding, such as that Ukraine give up territory that Russia hasn't even won on the battlefield, for instance, weren't given up, weren't being held to. So there are a lot of red lines that Putin was insisting on. It does feel as if that Ukraine is in the weaker position at the moment, not least because the US has said to Europe, well, this is your problem now. And I'm afraid Europe has really struggled to step up. It simply doesn't really have the military capacity. Perhaps it has the financial capacity, as is being discussed now, if we are talking about this Russian assets proposal to help Ukraine. But really, Europe clearly hasn't done enough.
Well, let's get into those frozen Russian assets, because we've been talking about this for years, haven't we? And releasing those. It's believed to be £100 billion worth of frozen Russian assets. But Brussels has always been the blocker.
Yeah, so we should say Brussels in the Belgian government rather than Brussels as in the European Union, because the lion's share of these assets are held in Belgium, in Belgian banks. And there are two fears. One is that this could invite a sort of direct declaration of war. Dmitry Medvedev, the former Russian president, has said that this would be tantamount to a declaration of war. But also, you know, that Belgium could be sued over this money, which sounds incredible, you know, talking about international law and things like that in the context of this war. But that is a genuine fear of the Belgians, and so they've had to be brought over the line. It's believed that the UK has about £8 billion worth of frozen Russian assets, but of course, in total, if we're talking about over 100 billion, that's potentially a game changer. Now, that may just end up having to be used for Ukraine to fight on if there isn't a negotiated settlement reached, because Ukraine is running out of money. It can't afford to pay for some of the US weapons that it knows that it needs in order to carry on the war, or at least in order to make progress. So it could be a potential breakthrough, but it just has come far too late, it seems.
Well, I mean, if Sir Keir Starmer is talking here about this money being freed up, presumably they've come to some kind of deal with Belgium to be able to step in should the worst come to the worst and they get themselves embroiled in a situation where they'll have to pay a third of their GDP to Russia. But I guess the other consequences of this, as you mentioned there, is what that does in terms of making Belgium a target, because we've seen in a number of countries in Europe the situation with drone incursions into busy international airports. We've seen in Poland some of the rail network that seems to have been targeted, and the blame is being firmly placed on Russia here.
And we have seen Polish and German officials saying we are effectively already directly at war with Russia. I'm not sure if that's a helpful thing to say. I think, you know, one of the things that world leaders do deserve credit for is sort of maintaining the balance and not having a direct confrontation with Russia, because that could, you know, be incredibly dangerous with a nuclear armed power. I think it's also, you know, worth reminding ourselves that Europe likes to posture as being on the side of Ukraine. We've had so many summits, so many meetings, so many bear hugs, as you say, with Zelensky, so many photo ops. But, you know, if you look at the actual money behind this, if you look at some of the finances so far, it's been, I think, £225 billion from all NATO countries spent directly on aid to Ukraine, over £300 billion spent on Russian fossil fuels. So at the same time, you know, on the one side of our mouths, we're saying we support Ukraine, we support their fight for independence. On the other, we're directly financing Russia's war efforts. Now, maybe this new proposal will do something to rebalance that, but it just, I think, exposes a complete lack of seriousness in Europe. This war has been going on for several years. It doesn't feel as if anything fundamental has changed in the mindset of Europe. We're talking maybe about increasing defence spending to 3% in the next parliament when Keir Starmer's not even going to be Prime Minister. It's a similar story in the rest of Europe. Lots of talk about being on a war footing, lots of talk about ramping up the defence industries. But what's really happening? It is just all talk. It is just all empty. And it's left Ukraine in this horrible, invidious position.
OK, Fraser Myers, you're back with us in the next hour. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fraser.
Now, at 10 minutes past 6, 2 teenage Afghan asylum seekers who abducted and raped a 15-year-old girl have been handed down custodial sentences.
Jan Jahanzeb was given 10 years and 8 months, with Israr Niazal sentenced to 9 years and 10 months for the attack which took place in Leamington Spa in May.
Well, the pair have been ordered to register as sex offenders for life and could now face deportation, with their victims saying the attack changed her as a person.
Well, criminal defence lawyer Marcus Johnson joins us now down the line. Mr Johnson, good morning to you.
Good morning.
An absolutely horrific case. The details of this are just, you know, chilling to say the very least. With regards to these two young men, we believe they're 17, that's only a guesstimate. But there's some suggestion that one of these young men might not be up for deportation, that he could somehow resist that. Is that, do you think, a realistic prospect?
It's possible. It is possible, Mark. It's very interesting the way this case has been dealt with by the authorities, in that there seems to me of some kind of deal that's been done between the defence lawyers and the prosecution service. He was 16 at the time of the offence, about to turn 17. Had he entered a guilty plea or been convicted when either of them were 17 years old, there would have been automatic deportation. He actually entered his guilty plea the day before he was 17, thereby avoiding the automatic deportation. So he may still be deported, but there's no automatic deportation right. So no doubt that will result in his lawyers now using various routes, including human rights legislation, to try to allow him to maintain and stay in the UK, even when he's released from prison. I noticed one of his the barrister for Niazal said that he may still be able to make a life for himself in the UK, which is quite extraordinary, considering the horrific offence that he's committed after being in the UK only a very short period of time.
We only have really just found out the names of these two individuals after the reporting restrictions were lifted with permission by the judge. Do you think that was the right decision from the judge? Because transparency, surely, is really important in these cases, even if it does risk public anger.
I think transparency is extremely important, Ellie. It's something we've not seen in the criminal justice system for a long time. We're starting to see more transparency. There's more data being released, but it is extremely difficult to get the data. There has, for many, many years, been a reluctance by the court system and the authorities and the prosecution service, the police, the government, you name it, to release any kind of data. We know from recent data by the Ministry of Defence, obtained by the Telegraph for a Freedom of Information request, that Afghans are 22 times more likely to commit sex crimes than British citizens. The figures are horrendous. When you look at the number of immigrants and the offences that are being committed every day around the courts throughout England and Wales.
Do you think we are reaching a bit of a critical mass here, in that obviously the small boats crisis has been rumbling on for a few years now, but it's really just in the last few years that we've really seen very significant numbers coming across many of these young men, many of them, of course, being housed in the likes of hotels, hundreds at a time, just hanging about aimlessly. We are seeing now more and more of these cases that are coming to light. And obviously the government seems to be in a place, and the authorities seem to be in a place where they will eventually reveal details of whether these people are asylum seekers or not. But that in itself is going to stoke further tensions, don't you think?
It may well do. It may well do. But we do need the data. We do need the transparency. There is a massive problem for the criminal justice system. It's not sustainable. The court system is about to fall apart. It cannot cope with the number of crimes being committed. And so we do need to know who is committing the crimes, what type of crimes, against whom those crimes being committed. There's also massive expense and massive problem. You've already alluded to there, Mark, that he was in, I think, tax-funded accommodation, having arrived in the UK. I think it's fourth attempt to get to the UK, one of these young men. When he gets to the UK, it's tax-funded accommodation. He had a solicitor, a barrister, paid for by legal aid. He had interpreters with him in court, paid for by the state. He had social services support workers, paid for by the state. There is a tremendous expense being given to people from abroad who come to the UK, commit the most horrendous crimes, and then still expect to remain in the UK even when they've served the sentence. And the sentence, by the way, although it's on the face of it, it's fairly harsh, around 9 or 10 years, remember that they're only serving 2/3 of that sentence. For some reason, the judge decided not to class them as dangerous offenders. Had they been classed as dangerous offenders, they would have been subject to a longer sentence and could only be released with the agreement of the parole board. That wasn't invoked in this situation. So they're now eligible for automatic release after 2/3, which means they'll serve around about 6 years in prison.
Can I just ask you very briefly as well, Marcus, before we wrap up? You mentioned there that the judge decided not to categorise them in this category of dangerous offenders, but also in her remarks, the sentencing remarks, speaking about understanding that they come from a different culture to the UK. Does this not seem a little ill-judged, given that, whatever the culture, child rape is illegal in any culture, surely?
That's correct. The judge's remarks were strange. The judge said that she accepts significant cultural differences between Afghanistan and the UK. But then again did impose a relatively high sentence and lifted reporting restrictions so that details could be reported in the press. I think there is some element of pressure upon the judge by the authorities, possibly by the government, because the backlash had the details being kept secret and kept hidden. So there is an influence that's imposed by the government, I think, on these cases, which also raises questions about should judges be allowed to deal with these cases? For example, if this had gone to a trial, would this be trial by jury, or would this be one of those cases that now goes to a single judge? With the age of the person, it would likely be in a single judge. But there is a lot of pressure put on judges nowadays. It's a very difficult job to get that decision right, whichever way they go. Had they released data, not released data, the length of the sentence, they're always open to criticism. But there were some strange remarks made by the judge in this particular case.
OK, Marcus Johnson, criminal defence lawyer. Really good to get your thoughts on that this morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, strange to say the very least. I think what will stick in the throats of many is the fact that one of these young men may get the leave to remain, or may at least try to fight that, all because of this anomaly over when he pleaded guilty on an age which is a guesstimate anyway. We don't know what his age is because they throw their documents away in the English Channel when they come across. And
his defence lawyer is saying that he could have a life here in Britain.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's 17 years old, he serves 10 years or 7 years. I mean, he's still a very young man. And many people would say still a very dangerous young man. We know what your thoughts are going to be on this, but please do let us know. gbnews.com/yoursay. You can get involved that way. You can also get involved a new way, which is Friends of GB News. It's free to do to become our friend. And if you do become our friend, you can vote in our You Decide polls. All you have to do is scan the QR code on the screens now. Just take your phone up to that QR code, scan that. You can take part in this poll, or you can go to gbnews.com as well if you're listening on the radio. This is our question today. Should we declare a national emergency over the small boats crisis? Yes or no? Get get in touch and let us know.
I think we know what the answer is going to be to that.
I think we do, yeah. Here's a reminder, you can become a friend of GB News for free. Here's how.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
And so many of you getting in touch with us already today. Natalie's been in touch saying it's so good to see Mark White on GB News this morning.
I am on most days, you know.
You are, but not in this chair.
Not on
so
breakfast.
Oh, it's
true,
lovely.
yeah.
It's lovely. And it's really good
lovely
to have
be
your
here.
expertise across all the stories as well.
I'm just a little ray of sunshine. That's
He is. I sat down with Mark this morning. I said, Mark, can you brief me, please, on all the stories that I need to know about? And it was great. You're just telling me all the different angles.
Yeah, I've briefed her. It's completely wrong, so be prepared.
No, you're very, very good. We've got loads more coming in as well, don't we?
Yeah, Phil has just responded to our last story there about these two Afghan young men who were found guilty and jailed for the rape of that 15-year-old girl in Leamington Spa. Phil says our rules should not apply to these barbarians.
And on Ukraine and that peace deal, that coalition of the willing meeting at 10 Downing Street yesterday, Jazzy says, why should Ukraine give the land to Russia that they illegally stole by invasion? What have all of those men died for? That's certainly the Ukrainian view. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, 21 minutes past 6. Let's get a check on the weather, shall we, with Aidan McGibbon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Bram is now moving across the UK with multiple yellow and amber warnings, risk of flooding and disruptive, even damaging winds during the rest of the day. Initially, it's a wet and windy day across all parts, particularly towards the north and the west. That's where outbreaks of rain continue through the morning and into the afternoon. South Wales, Dartmoor, the focus for the greatest risk of flooding, but could be transport disruption from the rain for many. And then that wet weather eases off into the afternoon, but it's at this stage that the winds pick up. The southwesterly winds will at least bring mild weather with them, 16, even 17 Celsius in the afternoon, but it's going to turn particularly gusty into the evening, and the main cause for concern, northwest Scotland, where there is the risk of 80 to 90 mile-per-hour wind gusts peaking during the evening. Those winds could cause dangerous conditions around coasts, widespread disruption, power outages, as well as the risk of flying debris. And it's not just northwest Scotland, many parts of the UK, particularly towards the west, at risk of seeing 50, 60 mile-per-hour wind gusts, 70 around exposed coasts. As I say, the winds peaking during the evening, but it continues to be very windy overnight, particularly again towards the north and west of Scotland, where frequent showers will be moving through. Showers elsewhere as well, but drier towards the south and east. And a blustery start to Wednesday, but temperatures starting to come down now as fresher air begins to move in, 9 to 12 Celsius first thing. And then Wednesday is a blustery day. The strong winds still affecting northwest Scotland for a time, but eventually easing into the afternoon as Bram pulls away. Those blustery, gusty winds continuing to bring frequent showers, particularly to northern parts of the UK, but the showers tending to ease off across many parts of England and Wales by the afternoon. Sunshine reappears, temperatures reaching 12 to 13 Celsius. Not as mild as Tuesday, but sunnier at least.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
So old Storm Bram, I mean, it is winter, of course, but this is a particularly nasty one, especially if you're on the west coast a bit further north. Just a reminder, send in any pictures that you might have if you're that area. I know that it's still dark out there, but even anything, the storm lashing against your cosy window if you're snuggled up at home. But yeah, send us your pictures.
Yeah, and the email address is gbviews@gbnews.com. It's our old email address, if you remember that, but you can then attach pictures and attach videos and things like that. So gbviews@gbnews.com. But do stay with us.
Yet still to come, Kemi Badenoch has staked her claim as to why the Conservatives are the only party prepared to start a national inquiry into the grooming gang scandal. This is GB News Breakfast with Ellie and Mark.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Bram is now moving across the UK with multiple yellow and amber warnings, risk of flooding and disruptive, even damaging winds during the rest of the day. Initially, it's a wet and windy day across all parts, particularly towards the north and the west. That's where outbreaks of rain continue through the morning and into the afternoon. South Wales, Dartmoor, the focus for the greatest risk of flooding, but could be transport disruption from the rain for many. And then that wet weather eases off into the afternoon, but it's at this stage that the winds pick up. The southwesterly winds will at least bring mild weather with them, 16, even 17 Celsius in the afternoon, but it's going to turn particularly gusty into the evening. And the main cause for concern, northwest Scotland, where there is the risk of 80 to 90 mile/hour wind gusts peaking during the evening. Those winds could cause dangerous conditions around coasts, widespread disruption, power outages, as well as the risk of flying debris. And it's not just northwest Scotland, many parts of the UK, particularly towards the west, at risk of seeing 50, 60 mile/hour wind gusts, 70 around exposed coasts. As I say, the wind's peaking during the evening, but it continues to be very windy overnight, particularly again towards the north and west of Scotland, where frequent showers will be moving through. Showers elsewhere as well, but drier towards the south and east. And a blustery start to Wednesday, but temperatures starting to come down now as fresher air begins to move in, 9 to 12 Celsius first thing. And then Wednesday is a blustery day. The strong winds still affecting northwest Scotland for a time, but eventually easing into the afternoon as Bram pulls away. Those blustery, gusty winds continuing to bring frequent showers, particularly to northern parts of the UK, but the showers tending to ease off across many parts of England and Wales by the afternoon. Sunshine reappears, temperatures reaching 12 to 13 Celsius. Not as mild as Tuesday, but sunnier at least.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad Bram.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racist tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to GB News Breakfast. It's what now, 6:28 in the morning, very early, but I'm sure quite a few of you are up and about. Now, Kemi Badenoch has staked her claim even as to why the Conservatives are the only party prepared to start a national inquiry into the grooming gang scandal.
National inquiry is a national inquiry. It should look at the whole of the UK. And the fact that all this happening in Scotland is a review shows that the SNP is also not interested in looking at this properly. There's only one party that is brave enough and competent enough to get this done. That's the Conservatives. And those who want to see this issue dealt with should work with us.
Well, the Conservative Party leader held a press conference yesterday calling for the government to do more, stressing that no stone be left unturned.
So is Badenoch right that Labour are lacking political courage to get the job done? Well, let's speak to the founder of Freedom from Abuse, Marilyn Hawes. Good morning to you, Marilyn.
Morning.
Morning.
Yeah, so Kemi Badenoch, I mean, does she have much credibility here?
Well, yes. I've been through what she said with a fine-tooth comb last night, and is it really that much different? We want a national inquiry. We know that the victims or the survivors of this want it as well. But I would have liked to have said, you know, that the Home Office needs to actually establish a criteria and a time frame and choose a chairman and get on with it. You know, the trouble is that it's very difficult for these ladies who are survivors because they've had such depraved abuse meted on them that, you know, there's so much emotional damage. I'm just wondering if they can ever really agree. I mean, I think it has to be judge-led. And I don't understand why maybe Baroness Louise Casey might not be involved, because I think what she came out with was, I think, quite a shock for Keir Starmer, because he doesn't want the ethnicity thing mentioned, does he? I mean, he's pushed into a corner now. But I would also like to have seen, you know, I mean, Jess Phillips was mentioned, but I think she's frankly out of her depth, and I think she's struggling. I'm not really impressed with her, quite frankly, as time has gone on. She started well, but I don't think she's finishing very well. I don't think she's credible. But, you know, these ladies, and rightly so, they don't want anyone from the police, the social services, even their teachers ignored them, the residential care homes, some of them would have been involved. You know, you don't go back and strike a dog that's bitten you, do you? You don't stroke a dog that's bitten you. So that's a non-starter. But what, on that thing that she did yesterday, it's the same parlance. I counted 7 times she mentions ethnicity and religion. Well, is it religion? It's definitely ethnicity. I know quite a lot of Muslims who are horrified at what's gone on. And the other thing she says, or actually Chris Phelps, he said, oh, we are going to give the voice to the voiceless. Well, these ladies, girls at the time, were not voiceless. You know, they had people they told had, in my view, selective hearing. They did call it out. They didn't go away and down a dark hole and ignore it. And then Chris Phelps says, oh, those charged with protecting them hesitated about the facts which were inconvenient. No, it was more than inconvenient. It was a lack of moral conscience on the altar of racism. And it's something what I would like to have seen to make it different. I would have liked to have seen something innovative, like, why does this keep on happening? What is it? You know, she goes on about Asian and Pakistan. No, Asia is a huge continent. You don't see Sri Lankans doing this. You don't see the Chinese doing this. What is it about the Pakistani culture? It is patriarchal. It is misogynistic. We know that. And it's still going on. And then what about the imams? They should have, I mean, some of the imams are actually telling these boys this is okay. And it's not okay. And it's all, you know, these people hunt in packs. They really do. They've got family, the brothers, the cousins across the country. I would have thought, because it's still going on today, I had the most hideous call from an Uber taxi driver up in North Shields last night. And I've actually sent it in to GB News for your Charlie Peters to have a look at. Horrific, even as we, you know, just last night. So is this actually going to stop what's happening? No. So why is it happening? What are we going to do about educating these people coming through? Because I have a friend I was talking to yesterday who's a teacher at a school where there's high ethnicity, right? And she said, even though it's 6-year-olds, the Pakistani boys have no respect for the female teachers at the school she works at. So it comes another wave of it coming up through. Do you see what I'm saying?
OK, Marilyn, I'm afraid we're out of time with you this morning, but thank you so much, as always, for joining us on GB News Breakfast.
Thanks very much, Marilyn.
Thank you.
Now, a Home Office spokesman said the abuse of children by grooming gangs is one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. We will do everything in our power to ensure that these crimes never happen again.
Well, it's now time for our daily reflection.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 9.
Hi there, my name is the Reverend Pat Allerton and I'm a vicar in the Church of England. You know, one of the most extraordinary things about the Christian story for me is the remarkable humility of God that it displays. There's a scripture in the book of Isaiah that says, "The Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel." I say humility because if the Christian story is true, then it means nothing less than that God himself, the creator of it all, chose to become a human being and be born of a virgin. In other words, that Jesus Christ, who is himself God, did not consider it beneath him to take on our flesh, to become a baby in his mother's womb, and to be born as one of us, and in a stable of all places. Such humility, that God would stoop so low, taking us to himself, embracing our fragile human nature. And you know, that should change how we see ourselves. It should change how we see one another, because it tells us that there aren't two different classes of people, some of whom are to be accepted and others to be rejected, but rather that everyone is precious in God's sight. Everyone is made in his image. Therefore, everyone is worthy of love, compassion, and respect. So let me ask you, how can you humble yourself this Christmas time and lift others up around you?
Oh, giving us lots to think about there on day 9 of the GB News Advent Calendar.
Yeah, I have to say, these Thought for the Day segments are just beautiful, very, very thoughtful, and a reminder of what this time of year is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope you enjoy them as much as we do.
Now,
Lots of you getting in touch.
Yeah, we've got some more GB News views in responding to that horrific rape of a 15-year-old girl up in Leamington Spa, with 2 Afghan young men jailed for that yesterday. Debbie has emailed, messaged in saying, anyone here illegal or legal from another country, you break any laws in this country, you're deported straight away. No legal aid to appeal, you're gone. Simple. That in response to the fact that one of these young men might be able to try to resist any deportation effort.
And we've got another one here from Joanna talking about the small boats crisis in the Channel, saying we need to declare a national emergency pronto. Do keep those views coming in, gbnews.com/you'll-say.
Now, if you're travelling to work or school, of course, Storm Bram is out there. Here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A1 at Abbotsview on Slip is currently restricted northbound due to a broken down vehicle. Meanwhile, the M48 eastbound from Junction 2 to Junction 1 is experiencing delays near Newhouse due to a recent incident. In Surrey, one of the 4 lanes is closed clockwise between Junction 8 and Junction 9 on the M25 due to a previous road traffic collision. Drivers should exercise caution and plan their routes accordingly. On the trains, there is disruption on the Avanti West Coast between London Euston and Watford Junction, and on the East Midlands Railway line between Norwich and Wymondham. Stay up to date at gbnews.com for more travel news.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, it's 19 minutes to 7. Welcome back to GB News Breakfast. And it's time for sport with the wonderful Paul Coyte.
Thank you, Mark. That's really nice.
He's truly wonderful.
Never says that. Yeah.
Well, he's going to be a happy man today. If he was here, he would be lovely to
Yeah, he is. He went up to Wolverhampton, didn't he, last night? So Manchester United beat Wolves 4-1, but I think it actually says more about Wolverhampton Wanderers than it does about Manchester United, to be honest.
They've had a chronic season.
Oh, it's just dreadful. So the worst ever in the Premier League was Derby County, 2007-2008. They got 11 points. Wolves are still, so we're well into December, 2 points.
Oh.
And one of those came at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, may I add, as well. So it's just a disaster. They've sold their best players. They've not replaced them. They've made a few quid out of it, but the game, it's just bad. It's just, and I've got friends that are Wolves fans who just cannot see where a point's going to come.
So if they're selling players and they're not replacing them, that's the board, not the manager.
That's right, yeah. And the thing is, they can always replace the manager, but it's always the board. So it's funny because when there's problems with teams, and we see it, fans, firstly, you know, they'll start shouting, oh, the manager, that's going to be the problem. Then when managers are replaced, then it's the board, but then the board will always pass the buck. Yeah. Everybody's always going to pass the buck of whose fault it is. But in this situation, it is the board.
Yeah.
And fans are not happy and deserve better. So, you know, you've got to feel for Wolverhampton Wanderers fans at the moment.
Should we look at the Champions League tonight?
Yes, it's back again. This is dragging on, the Champions League. Spurs are at home to Slavia Prague.
Well, that should go well.
Well, you know what? I think it probably will, because Spurs are 16th. Now, you remember how this works? The top 8 will go through, and then from 9 to 24, they will have a playoff, and anybody below 24 will then be eliminated. 24 to 36.
How many games is that adding to the season of these clubs?
A lot.
Too many, Mark.
It is. It's a lot. Because it's the same. It's all about the money.
I feel like Spurs are playing every 2 days.
They are playing a lot. They really are. So Slavia Prague tonight. Atalanta versus Chelsea. Atalanta are 10th and Chelsea are 7th. Now, Inter Milan versus Liverpool is the one that probably everybody's going to be looking at. Inter Milan, who are doing very well. Liverpool, not so good. And it's all about Mo Salah.
Yes.
Because of his little outburst, because he wasn't playing, he wasn't being picked by Arne Slot, the manager. And he's literally thrown his toys out of the pram. Yeah, it is. It's just a fit of pique. He's just gone. It's ridiculous. I can understand the fact that he's such a good player, but he hasn't been playing well. Then if you're not good enough to play, you don't get picked.
No man is bigger than the club.
No man is bigger than the club,
said.
Mark. Exactly. Shall we hear from Arne?
Very briefly.
Well, I can't speed him up, but I'll try my best. Anyway, Arne Slot was asked who he thought Mo Salah was referring to when it came to being thrown under the bus. We know it's Arne. This is what he said.
The only one who can answer that question is Mo himself, so I can guess, but I don't think that's the right thing to do in this moment of time. So it's hard for me to tell who he means in that situation, to be honest. No, that's not the way I feel, but he has the right to feel how he feels things. I haven't felt that at all till Saturday evening for sure, because I think when I didn't play him anymore, usually players don't like the manager then that much, but he was very respectful to my staff members, to his teammates, and he trained really hard.
He trained really hard. He was very respectful to his teammates and his staff, but not particularly to Arne Slot by the sound of things. Is he going to play for Liverpool again? I would be surprised.
Watch this space.
He's not going to play.
That's irreparable, I think.
Yeah, I think it is.
Now, how would you like to win £85,000? It's all up for grabs in the latest Great British Giveaway. Have a go.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date with an incredible £85,000 to be won. That's right, £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, with your feet up, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. £85,000 is a massive amount of money, and it could be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Wonderful. Well, still to come, is it acceptable to take a week off work if your distant cousin dies? We'll be discussing that and much more in the papers with Claire Muldoon and David Wooding.
Morning, you two. Chat to you in just a second. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast across Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's not just the UK seeing some unsettled weather at the moment, it's also been unsettled for much of the week in Cyprus. That continues into Wednesday. And the trailing weather front from Storm Bram brings thicker cloud and some showery rain into the Canary Islands, as well as much of Iberia. This is a slow-moving weather front, so thicker cloud and some outbreaks of showery rain for much of Spain through Wednesday into Thursday. A lot of fine weather through central parts of the Med, particularly Italy, and above average temperatures for the time of year. Plenty of sunny spells.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I think a lot of you at home are going to be quite annoyed with this. Now, Tesco, the big supermarket chain, appears to have got rid of the famous Christmas trees, instead renaming them Evergreen
trees.
Evergreen
There's
trees.
the evergreen tree.
Here we are. So if you're listening on the radio, these are pictures of their boxes of artificial Christmas trees without the word Christmas on them at all, instead calling them evergreen trees. There are still a number of Christmas trees available called Christmas trees.
Christmas trees,
but I think it has clearly annoyed quite a lot of people. Why do you call them evergreen trees? Can't you just call them Christmas?
Just call them Christmas trees. I call them Christmas trees even outside of the time of Christmas. If they look like a Christmas tree, I call them a Christmas tree, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And the Conservative leader of the London Assembly, Susan Hall, she's told The Telegraph, it's Christmas. It's a Christmas tree. People don't tend to put up green plastic fir trees for any other reason. It's all stupid nonsense about offending other people and other religions. Well, below that, this is supposed to be a Christian country. We have Christmas. Let's celebrate it, says Susan Hall.
Actually, other religions are not offended by the celebration of Christmas in a Christian country. You speak to Hindus and Buddhists and the vast majority of Muslims, they're not in the slightest bit bothered and actually will join in those celebrations as well. It doesn't offend them. But what you've got are marketing divisions within these big companies where you've got Tarquin and Tabitha who feel that we must, you know, do what we can do to not offend the great British public. And the great British public are the ones that are actually buying the product and they're not in the slightest bit offended.
Can I just say it offends me that we've got Christmas already and it's not December.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. We're going to have a very quick look through the papers with Claire Muldoon and David Wooding. Morning, you two.
Good morning.
Claire, let's talk about Hugh Edwards.
Gosh, I didn't think we'd have to be speaking about him in this close time after when he was convicted of having child photographs on his phone, etc., etc. But here we are. He's put up a black and white smoochy picture on his Facebook page. He's reactivated his Instagram account with 94,000 followers, and we hear today from the Mail that he's actually got a bit of support from ex-BBC journalists and producers that he worked with, ex-colleagues of his.
Well, we didn't buy him.
But even the arrogance of it, Mark, the absolute arrogance, the lack of insight. How must his victims and those families feel? How must his own family feel? His wife, his children? I think it's just deplorable. And I thought this was going to happen, to be honest with you, not only for the sheer arrogance of which Hugh Edwards encapsulates, but also there was sniffs around his property that he had on the market that he had to reduce in value that's mysteriously taken off the market now. And that, for me, is just atrocious. I would hang my head in shame if I were him.
David, what do you think?
Well, he's clearly planning a comeback of some kind. What, I don't know, obviously, but why else would you... If that had happened to me, I'd keep my head down for a very, very long time and vanish from the public scene.
Yeah.
But as Claire says, it's a massive insult to all the victims of his crimes.
Claire, your distant cousin dies, you're going to take time off work?
No. I mean, I don't even have any distant cousins, Mark, but this actually goes further than that. Friends, blended families, dogs, right? You can take a week up to unpaid leave off for grieving. Now, whilst it's important to go through the grieving process, I'm sorry, but I live in the real world here. People die, that's it. Life goes on. And in part of making life go on, we need to work. We need to make sure society moves on. From day one now, under the employer's review that Starmer et al. Want to bring in, you are entitled to taking a week off work if, like you say, your distant cousin has died, albeit it will be unpaid. But then the burden of proof of proving this is just an absolute Pandora's box.
This is... Angela Rayner's bill, of course, and she has been saying privately to Keir Starmer, now is not the time to water down my bill. And it's quite weird that this has come out around that time. And, of course, she's in the middle of alleged plotting to become the next leader or work on a dream ticket with Wes Streeting. So politics plays into this one very heavily, I think.
Yeah, and she was speaking in the House of Commons, pushing for this not to be watered down.
What they're saying, though, is, and Claire's right, I agree with what Claire says, what they're saying is it's in recognition of of the modern family. The modern family isn't as it used to be. People think that families can involve friends and so on.
Yeah, David, Claire, I'm so sorry it's been so short. We'll have more time with you in the next hour.
Definitely.
Thank you very much indeed. Let us know what you think on any of those stories. gbnews.com/your say. Let's get a check on the weather, shall we? And Storm Bram with Aidan McGivern. He's got all the details for you this morning.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Bram is now moving across the UK with multiple yellow and amber warnings, risk of flooding and disruptive, even damaging winds during the rest of the day. Initially, it's a wet and windy day across all parts, particularly towards the north and the west. That's where outbreaks of rain continue through the morning and into the afternoon. South Wales, Dartmoor, the focus for the greatest risk of flooding, but could be transport disruption from the rain for many. And then that wet weather eases off into the afternoon, but it's at this stage that the winds pick up. The southwesterly winds will at least bring mild weather with them, 16, even 17 Celsius in the afternoon, but it's going to turn particularly gusty into the evening, and the main cause for concern, northwest Scotland, where there is the risk of 80 to 90 mile-per-hour wind gusts peaking during the evening. Those winds could cause dangerous conditions around coasts, widespread disruption, power outages, as well as the risk of flying debris. And it's not just northwest Scotland, many parts of the UK, particularly towards the west, at risk of seeing 50, 60 mile-per-hour wind gusts, 70 around exposed coasts. As I say, the winds peaking during the evening, but it continues to be very windy overnight, particularly again towards the north and west of Scotland, where frequent showers will be moving through. Showers elsewhere as well, but drier towards the south and east. And a blustery start to Wednesday, but temperatures starting to come down now as fresher air begins to move in, 9 to 12 Celsius first thing. And then Wednesday is a blustery day. The strong winds still affecting northwest Scotland for a time, but eventually easing into the afternoon as Bram pulls away. Those blustery, gusty winds continuing to bring frequent showers, particularly to northern parts of the UK, but the showers tending to ease off across many parts of England and Wales by the afternoon. Sunshine reappears, temperatures reaching 12 to 13 Celsius. Not as mild as Tuesday, but sunnier at least.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for sharing over 5 million comments on Your Say, because when you talk, we listen.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Commuters on the A1 northbound at Abbotsview face delays due to a breakdown. Traffic is building on the M48 eastbound from Junction 2 at Newhouse to Junction 1 at Aust. The M61 southbound in Lancashire has one lane closed between Junctions 8 and 6. In Surrey, the M25 clockwise between Junctions 8 and 9 has one lane shut due to a collision. The M40 southbound in Buckinghamshire lost two lanes near Junctions 4 to 2 due to an incident. And on the trains, disruption is reported on Avanti West Coast service between London Euston and Watford Junction, and on Chiltern Railways between Rickmansworth and London Marylebone. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with, each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning. Is President Trump's proposed peace plan for Ukraine on the brink of collapse?
Well, after a meeting of European leaders in London, President Zelensky is pushing back hard, signalling he will not accept any agreement that requires surrendering Ukrainian territory.
Well, Kyiv is set to send the US president a Europe-backed counter-proposal. That's following the emergency Downing Street summit.
But can this renewed diplomatic push tip the scales towards peace, or will unresolved questions over security and territory keep the war raging?
Elsewhere, 2 Afghan small boat migrants have been jailed following the rape of a 15-year-old girl in Leamington Spa.
Well, a danger to life weather warning is in place as Storm Bram batters Britain with a month's worth of rain and winds of up to 90 miles an hour.
Thing is happening right now. We know that Labour didn't want to have a national inquiry. They've been stalling, and it looks like they've kicked it into the long grass.
Kemi Badenoch tells the government that a nationwide grooming gangs inquiry must leave no stone unturned. She also calls to ensure that ethnicity and religious backgrounds are examined.
Pubs under pressure. Landlords are warning the government of dire consequences if planned increases in business rates come into force, with many fearing closure.
And in sport this morning, Wolverhampton Wanderers in a terrible state at the moment. They lose again, this time 4-1 to Manchester United. The Champions League returns tonight. Liverpool, Chelsea and Spurs all in action. And is there any magic still left in the FA Cup? Well, there are some minnows that join the big boys in the third round.
I'll have the very latest on Storm Bram moving across the UK during the rest of the day, bringing the risk of flooding as well as disruptive, even damaging winds. Coming up soon in the forecast.
Good morning. It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Mark White, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Let's get straight into our top story this morning, where negotiations to end Putin's war reach a critical stage as European leaders are poised to give a mammoth donation to Ukraine.
Up to £100 billion of frozen Russian assets is set to be released in the coming days, with the Prime Minister marking this moment as a critical stage in ending the war.
Well, Keir Starmer welcomed President Zelensky, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and President Macron of France to 10 Downing Street yesterday to host a coalition of the willing meeting, with all leaders hopeful that a deal to provide more financial support to Ukraine could come into force before Christmas.
Well, with peace talks between both the Ukrainians and the US over the weekend, could these efforts be enough to end 4 years of conflict?
Well, joining us now in the studio is Deputy Editor for Spiked Online, Fraser Myers. Very good morning to you, Fraser. What do you make of this?
Well, I think, this could be an important effort to give Ukraine some backing, because obviously the United States is leaving it to Europe, punting this over to Europe, saying this is your problem to deal with. And I think Europe has struggled a little bit with that. Europe has struggled to find both the financial means and also the military means in order to back Ukraine. There's a lot of great rhetoric on the side of the Europeans, but we actually haven't seen much action. Could this be some help? I hope so. But, at the end of the day, Europe has been sidelined in this process. That's a reflection of Europe's weakened position here. You know, the Americans and the Russians are in the driving seat.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Certainly President Trump is taking the lead on this with his bombastic style of negotiations. But if this, as Sir Keir Starmer seemed to be alluding to, this access to £100 billion of Russian assets does actually get agreed. It's not been agreed thus far. I mean, that sounds like it would be a game changer. The money that could provide for arms, the money that could provide for the rebuilding of Ukraine.
Yeah, and it's money that is sorely, sorely needed, not just for arms. I mean, there are fears that without this kind of cash injection, Ukraine could be running out of money by, certainly the war effort could be running out of money by the spring. Rebuilding Ukraine, as you suggest, you know, many cities have been absolutely levelled by this destruction. I mean, there's some debate over how the money will be used still. There are some European countries that say it should be perhaps earmarked for the reconstruction rather than for you know, a renewed offensive. Certainly, it could change things, but it's not over the line yet. You know, we still have Belgium in particular, because actually the lion's share of the money is being held in Belgium in Euroclear, one of their clearing houses. They are very, very worried about this. They're worried not only that it puts a target on their back, that they could invite a direct war with Russia by doing this, but also they could be sued and actually could be liable to have to cover some of this cash, which to them is about a third of their GDP. So it's not a small amount of money.
But Fraser, big questions remain. Big questions over security, big questions over Ukrainian territory and whether they should give that over to Russia. Also, does Russia even want peace? I mean, it looks like it's preparing for more war, not less.
Well, this is the thing. It's what, you know, hopefully you'd hope that the Americans were reminded of this, that actually the big obstacle to peace is Putin and the Russians. They rejected a deal last week that was given to them, a deal that was seen as pretty favourable to Russia. So, you know, there are obviously, of course, two sides of this conflict. Russia is the aggressor in this war. We shouldn't forget that. But, yeah, it seems that even they are not satisfied with the pretty favourable terms that are being given to them. Hopefully, perhaps an injection of cash might change things on the ground militarily, and that would be the thing that might change the game in terms of the negotiations. But, you know, we are so long into this war, several years into this war, and it just feels as if Europe has never really stepped up to the plate in terms of really giving Ukraine its full backing. We haven't really increased our own defence spending. You know, we have a land war in Europe, but that hasn't changed mindsets in Europe. We're talking about, in the UK, increasing defence spending to 3%, maybe at the end, not of this Parliament, but of the next Parliament, when Keir Starmer won't even be Prime Minister, let's face it. We are deindustrialising as a continent. We are just not in a position to back the warm words that the warm words of support that we are giving to Ukraine. And that should have changed in 2022. Something should have changed then, but it hasn't.
OK, Fraser Mars from Spiked Online, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us.
Thanks, Fraser. Now, at 7:07, two teenage Afghan asylum seekers who abducted and raped a 15-year-old girl have been given custodial sentences.
Jan Jahanzeb was given 10 years and 8 months, with Israr Niazal sentenced to 9 years and 10 months for the attack which took place in Leamington Spa in May.
Well, the pair have been ordered to register as sex offenders for life and could now face deportation, with their victims saying the attack changed her as a person.
Well, the former Home Office Minister Kevin Foster joins us now. Good morning to you. In terms of these two individuals, I think it's really going to stick in the throat of many, the fact that one of these, because effectively of an anomaly, given that we're guesstimating their age anyway, because he pled guilty one day before his estimated 17th birthday, might be able to start resisting any efforts to deport him.
Well, as you say, Mark, it's a guesstimated birthday, and it's obvious there's been some gaming of the system going on. Otherwise, it'd be a remarkable coincidence that he pled guilty the day before. What is his guesstimated 17th birthday? You know, viewers may or may not know that where someone claims to be a child, the Home Office then has to try and assess their age, and it's always that perhaps when someone's assessed at 17, it becomes quite an issue. One or two people actually looking at the photos might think that at least one of them looks somewhat older than 18, but it's certainly a process that is there. However, yes, there's now the process to look at trying to get rid of these two out of the country, and that does mean looking to return them to Afghanistan. Now, over the last few years, since the Taliban takeover, that might have been seen as very difficult or nearly impossible because of trying to get permission from the Taliban. Yet earlier this year, Germany resumed deportations of convicted criminals to Afghanistan, facilitated by the Qataris. So there is certainly now a path that the UK government could also follow, looking to deal with these two.
But we did hear from the defence lawyer for the younger of the two individuals, only by a few months, but we did hear from him yesterday saying that he was planning to appeal, that he considers that this man, Niazil, could have a life here in Britain. And he's right, in a sense, isn't he? Because if he's only 17 now, he only serves a 9-year sentence, and you only serve 2/3 of that sentence, that's 7 years. He could be out by 25 years old. And we've got so many views coming through here saying anyone who's here illegally or legally from a foreign land should be deported if they have been convicted of a sexual crime.
Yeah, the law, as it stands, with the severity of offending that these two have had, you know, it doesn't get much worse than what they did, can be considered for deportation. The issue is which country you're removing them to. And what I suspect will happen is once one of them has received deportation papers, the other almost certainly will. I suspect the Home Office will make an attempt to remove them. Why wouldn't they, given the danger these two present? We'll then see attempts to use various other pieces of international law, including the European Convention on Human Rights, to try and avoid deportation. Although it's worth noting that this offending is so serious that actually they were under the Refugee Convention. You can say that actually anyone's needs for protection is outweighed by the danger they propose to society. And given what these two have done, that test would almost certainly be met.
OK, Kevin Foster, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning on GB News Breakfast.
Thank you. Do let us know what you think about that. We already know what you're going to say. gbnews.com/you'll-say. Now, 11 minutes past 7, let's get a check on the weather with Aidan McGibbon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Bram is now moving across the UK with multiple yellow and amber warnings, risk of flooding and disruptive, even damaging winds during the rest of the day. Initially, it's a wet and windy day across all parts, particularly towards the north and the west. That's where outbreaks of rain continue through the morning and into the afternoon. South Wales, Dartmoor, the focus for the greatest risk of flooding, but could be transport disruption from the rain for many. And then that wet weather eases off into the afternoon, but it's at this stage that the winds pick up. The southwesterly winds will at least bring mild weather with them, 16, even 17 Celsius in the afternoon, but it's going to turn particularly gusty into the evening, and the main cause for concern, northwest Scotland, where there is the risk of 80 to 90 mile-per-hour wind gusts peaking during the evening. Those winds could cause dangerous conditions around coasts, widespread disruption, power outages, as well as the risk of flying debris. And it's not just northwest Scotland, many parts of the UK, particularly towards the west, at risk of seeing 50, 60 mile-per-hour wind gusts, 70 around exposed coasts. As I say, the winds peaking during the evening, but it continues to be very windy overnight, particularly again towards the north and west of Scotland, where frequent showers will be moving through. Showers elsewhere as well, but drier towards the south and east. And a blustery start to Wednesday, but temperatures starting to come down now as fresher air begins to move in, 9 to 12 Celsius first thing. And then Wednesday, is a blustery day. The strong winds still affecting northwest Scotland for a time, but eventually easing into the afternoon as Bram pulls away. Those blustery, gusty winds continuing to bring frequent showers, particularly to northern parts of the UK, but the showers tending to ease off across many parts of England and Wales by the afternoon. Sunshine reappears, temperatures reaching 12 to 13 Celsius. Not as mild as Tuesday, but sunnier at least.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, we've been asking for your views all morning on that horrific rape of a 15-year-old girl by 2 asylum seekers up in Leamington Spa. And we've been hearing from Marion Martin, who says, as these 2 rapists from Afghanistan were found guilty, why can't the authorities carry out age tests? No human rights claims should be allowed for guilty convictions. Now, this is because they've had to guesstimate their age, so they could actually be quite a bit older than 17. But because of human rights lawyers and, an unwillingness of the authorities to trample on their human rights, they don't get medical tests to give a more accurate view of what their age is.
So it is just a guesstimate as it stands. Jane's been in touch saying that poor girl is going to be traumatised for life. It's disgusting that those men are not thrown out of this country straight away. Yeah, I was listening to the victim impact statement and she was, she said she's terrified to go outside now. She just feels completely changed. Starkey Ripon, anyone with any criminal conviction who doesn't hold a British passport or holds a dual nationality one should be booted out of the country. Yeah, keep those views coming in. gbnews.com/yoursay. Well, still to come in just 3 days, the world's toughest row will take place and the 3 flying fish, as they've been called, are set to take part. We'll be meeting them next.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News,
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back. It's 18 minutes past 7. Just time to tell you about the Great British Giveaway. It's a goodie, Mark. £85,000 in tax-free cash.
If you were Martin Daubney, you'd be saying Wonga and Moolah.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, Martin Daubney can't win, but you can. Here are all the details that you need.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date with an incredible £85,000 to be won. That's right, £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you with your feet up, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. £85,000 is a massive amount of money and it could be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
So good luck with that one. Now at 20 minutes past 7, it's time to go through the latest sports news. Paul Coyte is with us now, and Mo Salah. It's just going from bad to worse.
It really is. And the thing is, I wonder whether... I don't know. I'd love to get in the head of these people, because someone like Mo Salah, for those that are not aware, this happened at the weekend where he wasn't chosen to play against Leeds United when Liverpool got the 3-3 draw. And he is a legend of the club. There's no doubt about that. He's one of the greatest strikers Liverpool have ever had. But nobody is ever bigger than the club that we already discussed, and he was dropped, and then he started having a go, and he started shouting about the manager and shouting about the club. And so, really, Arne Slot has then had a press conference yesterday. We'll hear from him a little bit later, but basically, can this marriage be saved? I don't know whether it can. I don't think so. So anyway, we're just going to keep a very close eye on it, but we will have Mark Lawrenson, Liverpool legend, will join us in about an hour's time, and he'll probably tell us exactly what will happen, because he knows everything about it.
Can we talk about Wolves last night? Bit of a nightmare for them. Not looking good, is it?
It's a disaster, really, for Wolves. They're still on 2 points. They got beaten by Manchester United, and it's a great result for Manchester United, but as I said earlier, it's more about Wolves than it is for United. They lost 4-1. They've sold their best players. The worst basically points total has been in 2007-2008 with Derby County. They've got 11, and I have a feeling that Wolves may actually beat that, but they need to do something soon. But I think they're down. They really are down. Quick word about the draw as well for the third round of the FA Cup, which is always when you get the minnows coming in, playing the big teams. I mean, I remember being a kid and listening to it on the radio, and it's number 35.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful to watch the little teams, because I mean it really gives them that one opportunity to get a big old cash bonus.
So really, they want to be drawn, because now there's no replays. Yeah. So they probably want to be drawn.
They want to be drawn.
Well, there's two ways of looking at it, Mark. You either want to play someone that's not very good and try and get through to the next round, or just go for the big money. Macclesfield have drawn the holders Crystal Palace, but that's going to be at Macclesfield. Weston-super-Mare playing Grimsby. They could have got someone bigger. Boreham Wood against Burton Albion. Again, both of them probably would have wanted a bigger team. But there's 4 Premier League games: Spurs, Aston Villa, Everton, Sunderland, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Manchester United, Brighton. Another big one is Portsmouth versus Arsenal. And Andrew Pierce came in this morning, desperate to know who Swindon are going to play, and they've got Salford away. I doubt he'll be going. Doubt he'll be going. But Mark Lawrenson will speak to him in about an hour's time.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thanks, Quitty. Have you got any birthdays today? We could do that.
You know what? It's not a good day for birthdays.
Oh, no.
But I can always rustle something
Let's
up.
see if we can
will
rustle.
see.
Let's see
if we have time.
Yeah,
always time for that.
Thanks, Quitty. You're such a sporty spice.
I'm the sporty spice.
I wasn't prepared for you being this sporty. Do you know it's this sporty?
You know what? Mark knows everything.
He knows everything.
He's
That's how I spend my weekends.
Very good.
Feet up on the sofa.
Good man.
Can of lager.
It's a whole new side of you.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, let's stick with sport, shall we? Because in just 3 days, the world's toughest row is going to take place with the 3 flying fish set to take part.
Now, if they manage to make it through the gruelling challenge, they'll become the youngest mixed crew to row an ocean unsupported.
Well, let's speak to Anna, Harry and Rowan now, a.k.a. the 3 flying fish. There they are, joining us on GB News Breakfast. So good to see the 3 of you again.
Morning, guys.
How are you feeling 3 days out before you are setting sail across the Atlantic?
We are so excited to go across. We'd be lying if we wouldn't say we're definitely a little bit nervous, especially after our briefing yesterday, but we can't wait to make our dream happen of about 3.5 years, and it's going to be amazing.
Now, it says unsupported. Well, what does that actually mean? Because supported, I would imagine, is a kind of support boat alongside you, ready to intervene if you get into any trouble. Are you really just out there on your own, having to make the whole of that transatlantic trek?
Yeah, so unsupported means everything we need we take on the boat. We don't stop along the way. It's 3,000 miles of just ocean. We take all our food, all our drinks, we make all of our water. We're not allowed to take anything or throw anything off the boat. We've got no means of, being rescued other than passing container ships. So like any other boat, mayday and hope that someone comes and finds us. There's not someone sitting along behind us watching us go along.
Oh, it makes me so nervous just to hear it. How long are you 3 going to be out on the water? How long are you set to be out there for? And I'm a bit sad for you that you're all missing Christmas at home with your families. How are you feeling about Christmas Day, just the 3 of you on a rowing boat?
No, of course. I think it's going to be a very, very different experience. And it's not just Christmas we're actually missing. We're missing New Year's and my 20th birthday.
Oh.
With the timings, is very, very potluck. It depends purely on the weather. The race has actually been moved forward a day this year just to benefit the team so we can get some good weather, just to make it that little bit safer for us on the first couple of days as well. But to be honest, a typical crossing for a team of our size could be anywhere from 40 to 60 days. We're hoping to do it in less than 50 days, purely because Anna's dad did the row back in 2021 and he did the row in 51 days. So we've got to beat him or we'll never live it down.
You've got to beat him.
Well, of course, you're raising money for the Teenage Cancer Trust. How important is that for you guys?
So when we decided to do the row, we knew we couldn't do it without choosing an incredible charity to raise funds and awareness for. When I was in school, one of my friends passed away of cancer, and I realised the amazing impact Teenage Cancer Trust, not just on her, but also the family and wider community. So we decided practically instantly to raise money and awareness for Teenage Cancer Trust, and it's been a complete honour to do that for them.
Well, such a fantastic cause, and you are 3 fantastic individuals, the very best of British. Best of luck to you.
Yeah.
If people want to donate, they can do so on the 3flyingfish.com/donate. Is that right?
For sure, yeah. Or any of our social media platforms, in any of the bios.
OK, brilliant. Anna?
I hope you see lots of good marine life, big humpbacks. See anything, send us a pic.
Yeah, and we'll chat to you when you're finished. Good luck, you 3, Anna, Harry and Rowan, the 3 flying fish. Thank you very much.
Bye,
Best
guys.
of luck.
Yes,
Stay
thanks,
safe.
fellas.
Look after each other.
Will do.
I'm getting stressed now just thinking about it. The 3 of them on a rowing boat. They're going to be brilliant. They've trained
Indeed.
hard.
Now, coming up, we'll be speaking to the Conservatives, asking questions on the big issues of the day. This is GB News with Ellie and Mark.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The westbound M8 has disruptions between junctions 3A and 4. Motorists should expect delays. In Lancashire, the M61 southbound between junctions 8 and 6 is delayed due to a collision. The M40 southbound in Buckinghamshire has 2 lanes closed between junctions 4 and 2. Similarly, on the M3 westbound in Surrey, 2 lanes are shut between junctions 3 and 4. Drivers should exercise caution and consider alternatives. On the trains, disruptions occur between London Euston and Watford Junction and Rickmansworth and London Marylebone. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the cars. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning and welcome back to Breakfast. It's 7:30. Let's speak to the Conservatives now and the Shadow Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, Helen Waitley. Very good morning to you, Helen.
Good morning.
Morning, and thank you for joining us in the cold and the wind and the rain this morning. Look, can we start by talking about Ukraine and that coalition of the willing meeting at 10 Downing Street yesterday? It's thought that a deal to release £100 billion worth of frozen Russian assets is just days away. I mean, we understand that Belgium has been the bloc all this time, so it looks as though that seems to have lifted. How likely do you think it is that we will get our hands on this £100 billion worth of frozen Russian assets? And would that leave the US peace plan dead in the water?
Well, I'll say what I think is really important is that in Europe we need to play our part and be at the forefront of support for Ukraine in their fight against Russian aggression. And so Keir Starmer actually did the right thing here in getting Zelensky and European leaders together and to show the strength of our support. I think we all want to see an end to this horrible conflict, and it's crucial that it's an end that Ukraine is content with.
And what happens if the US walks away from the peace plan, as has been mooted by President Trump's son this week? Where does that leave Europe? Do we continue to support Ukraine?
Well, I don't want to be drawn too much into speculation about what the US might do, but I do think that, as I said, it's crucial that Europe plays its part in this, that we have, we've been at the forefront of the support for Ukraine since the moment Putin marched into the country, and we should continue to do that. And President Trump's been very clear for a long time about how he sees it as very important that Europe plays its part, doesn't just rely on the US for defence, something that we agree with. It's one reason why we as Conservatives are so committed that we have to make sure that we up our spending on defence, and that's the government needs to do that too.
Helen, can I just ask you about this horrific case yesterday with 2 young asylum seekers from Afghanistan jailed for raping a 15-year-old girl up in Leamington Spa. Now, it seems that one of these asylum seekers might have a case to try to resist any attempts to deport him because he had pleaded guilty just a day before his 17th birthday, and it was a guesstimated 17th birthday as well. That, I would imagine, would be, you know, just really unacceptable for so many people out there. Will the Conservatives be pushing the government or the Home Office to ensure both these men are deported?
I mean, clearly it's horrific, and we want to see foreign criminals deported, not continue to be able to live in the UK. That's one reason why Kemi Badenoch has made the decision that the Conservatives would take us out of the European Convention on Human Rights, because over the years that so often blocked or enabled people to avoid being deported from the UK when they should have been. So we know that's something that we have to do in order to be able to have the strong borders that we want.
Well, one of the issues, of course, at play here is the fact that because these were borderline minors in the views of those coming across the channel and assessing them, they weren't medically assessed, though. It was just a guesstimate because of concerns over human rights laws here. Are you saying then, if Kemi Badenoch becomes PM and you come out of the European Convention on Human Rights, that you will carry out medical checks to get a more accurate assessment of how young or indeed how old these cases are?
Well, I want to see us have put in place a much more effective way of actually checking the age of people who claim that they are children. We see that as well with people who come in here in small boats and claim asylum for being under 18. But there's a whole debate over, well, are those young people really as young as they say they are? And I think we need to be properly assessing that.
Can we talk about the National Grooming Gangs inquiry? And we heard Kemi Badenoch yesterday setting out what the Conservatives would like to see as the terms of reference for that national inquiry. How hopeful are you that the government will take this on board?
Well, there's no question we will keep on putting pressure on the government, and that's why Kemi and our Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, set that out yesterday, that we feel that the government is dragging their feet on the grooming gangs. They're resisting having a statutory inquiry. That's what the victims of these horrible gangs want, and that's what we want to see this properly attacked and got to the bottom of.
OK, Helen Whately, really good to see you this morning. Thank you very much for joining us on GB News Breakfast.
Well, still to come, we'll be going through the papers with David Wooding and Claire Muldoon. First, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's not just the UK seeing some unsettled weather at the moment. It's also been unsettled for much of the week in Cyprus. That continues into Wednesday. And the trailing weather front from Storm Bram brings thicker cloud and some showery rain into the Canary Islands, as well as much of Iberia. This is a slow-moving weather front, so thicker cloud and some outbreaks of showery rain for much of Spain through Wednesday into Thursday. A lot of fine weather through central parts of the Med, particularly Italy, and above-average temperatures for the time of year. Plenty of sunny spells.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Tell you what, we've got a story about potholes now that is just, I mean, ridiculous. Fed up residents in a quiet cul-de-sac in Banbury in Oxfordshire say they've been abandoned after being told that it could take 103 years to have their pothole-riddled road resurfaced. 103 years.
Could not believe it. Absolutely farcical. Anyway, the locals on Horsham Close say some of the potholes are like craters, adding it's yet another sign of Britain's crumbling infrastructure.
Yeah, we're going to speak now to pothole campaigner Mark Morrell, often known as just Mr. Pothole. I say just Mr. Pothole. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. They've used the figure from the Alarm survey. That's a survey, a report that shows just how bad our roads are, and used an average figure. How naive or stupid, really, to actually put a figure in there rather than say it'd be done as and when, you know? I know the particular road, because the main road, Sussex Drive, that it comes off of, I campaigned some years ago, got it resurfaced. Last year, I actually used some AI as a free app called Stand the App and drove around the 34 miles of Banbury on the main routes and identified 1,500 severe defects on their main routes. So the side roads, a number of those cul-de-sacs are well outside their life. I mean, if you look at the average road, it lasts about 20 to 25 years. And in the same report, in 15 years' time, 52% of all the country's roads will be structurally unsound, and therefore we've got a major problem coming up. And it just reflects the attitude, really, from politicians and authorities that we have to accept to manage decline.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to GB News Breakfast. It's 20 to 8 and joining us now, as promised, for our look at the morning papers is the political commentator Claire Muldoon.
Morning, Mark.
And former newspaper editor David Wooding.
Morning.
The award-winning...
David, congratulations. Thank you.
Tell us about that very briefly.
Well, I was awarded the Journalist Laureate by the London Press Club, a lavish do last week, so it was quite a thrill.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well deserved.
Very well deserved.
We're very proud of you.
Thank you very
much. Good to have you on, a distinguished chap like that.
Thank you.
We've got a lovely picture there of you up on the stage receiving
wonderful.
that. So congratulations, David.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Claire, let's have a look at this story, shall we? Front page of the Daily Express today. Grooming gangs probe and Kemi Badenoch calling for no stone to go unturned.
Well, that should be the latest benchmark for this whole debacle, should it not? To, you know, get the victims the justice that they so deserve, and the victims' families also that have been with them, to get them through this. No stone left unturned, says Kemi Badenoch, and we've got the benchmark from the Casey report that really is the starting point, the building block, the foundation of what should take us further. And the fact that we're actually having this discussion to say that men with dual nationality ought to be deported, in my view, that's the bottom. That really is the starting point as well. There should not even be a question of this. Get rid of them, get them out of the country, send the message to the rest of the world that Britain will not be a dumping ground for paedophiles, sex offenders and criminals. We are here for people who do seek asylum because they're turning away, they're fleeing from a war-torn country. They will be unsafe. But for the rest of them that are coming over in boats, the rest of them that the French are not even stopping. We're hearing reports of gunshots going off in Calais. We're hearing reports of drugs, you know, being taken over and then drugs being used in these camps. That's not men that are fearing for their safety.
It's absolutely
not
lawless.
at all. all. Really, really not at all. So, Kemi, I'm with you on this. Unfortunately, my compatriots and yours up in Scotland, the SNP don't seem to be taking it as seriously. This is endemic. This has to stop. And we've got the framework, as I said, with the Casey report. We need to go with that, run with it, and run these men out of this country.
David, it seems that, you know, after all these years, they're still tying themselves in knots over the issue of ethnicity.
Yes, it's a stain on the country's reputation, without doubt. It seems that the government, and perhaps the last government too, were too worried by sensitivities about naming ethnic people or gangs from different cultures, and that stopped them from actually getting to the bottom of this. And even now, they haven't named a chair to run this inquiry.
6 months into this process.
I mean, if they can't even find somebody to do this, and I no doubt that's probably done by sensitivities about who's going to do this, who will be...
Who's not going to upset one group or the other, yeah.
And, of course, the problem Labour have is that they have a large voting cohort among the Asian community who naturally vote Labour. So they're even more worried about upsetting them. And, of course, with everybody leaving them for reform on one side and the Lib Dems and the Greens on the other side.
But to politicise something as heinous as this, it makes me sick to the pit of my stomach. These poor girls, absolutely poor girls, have been damaged both physically and mentally over these years. They are the victims. They're the ones that we should be shouting for, trying to get justice for, and bringing an end to this horrible chapter in their lives.
Well, in terms of not wanting to politicise it, do you think then the Labour government should be working cross-party with the Conservatives?
This is definitely a cross-party issue, as I've said before. Absolutely, absolutely.
And perhaps, I mean, the Tories are saying now and floating the idea that we scrap the whole thing, we start again, and it's a judge-led inquiry. Is that something that you'd support?
It depends, again, on who it would be. I mean, we can't pick and choose our judges if they're going to be like this. We've had loads of COVID inquiry, we've had lots of inquiries that bear no process and due diligence on actually what's happened. I don't think we should go back. I think we need to move forward, and we need to get a chair in place, a chair that will not be frightened to call out this behaviour in any way, shape or form.
Shall we move on?
I was just going to say quickly, it's credit to the Times and Andrew Norfolk, who investigated this and exposed it all, because it took some fearless reporting, and at the time he was getting a lot of criticism for being effectively racist by exposing.
Maggie Oliver and our own Charlie Peters here at GB News as well. Big shout-outs.
Absolutely. You know, lots of work was done on this many years ago when it was not fashionable at all to talk about such issues. Shall we talk, Claire, about the issue of Ukraine and these comments from Sir Keir Starmer yesterday that the governments of Europe might finally be able to get their money on these 100 million euros in Russian assets? Do you really see that as being a prospect?
I don't, actually, and, you know, I fear for Europe, having Zelensky here so close to us, and he had Macron and Starmer yesterday as well, and I fear the shift away from the US. I fear the shift of Donald Trump's plan not coming up to muster for Zelensky. Zelensky is crippling at the moment in terms of economics and his own popularity in the Ukraine. Let's not forget about that, and the missing millions, the missing money that seems to have gone. And whilst Putin is a ceding ground in the Ukraine, he's laughing all the way to the bank, isn't he, really, in terms of lack of soldiers being killed. Putin, as we know, does not care about the Russian people either. But, you know, I can't see an end to this at all.
Because that's the thing, David, isn't it? You know, we've given so much money to Ukraine. Actually, that's dwarfed by how much money European countries are giving to Russia directly or indirectly, and still consuming, buying
gas,
energy, oil and gas.
Yeah, absolutely. But what they're talking about here is that there's £100 billion in frozen assets. I think £8 billion of it is in bank accounts. I mean, I've been saying this for some time. Why don't we give that to Ukraine? And the idea, I think, is to give it to them either to spend on military or rebuilding if the war is ended.
OK, David, Claire, do stay with us. We'll be back with you in the papers in just a moment. But in the meantime, let's go to Westminster and speak to the Liberal Democrats this morning and their Europe spokesperson, Al Pinkerton, who joins us now. Morning to you, Al.
Hello, good morning.
Very good morning to you. Look, Ed Davey calling on Sir Keir Starmer to give Labour MPs a free vote on the customs union bill. Why do you want that to happen?
Well, we want Labour MPs to follow us through the lobbies today for my 10-minute rule bill, which is calling for a bespoke UK-EU customs union. We know that Brexit has cost the UK economy. We know this from the National Bureau of Economic Research, a leading US think tank. It's cost the UK economy between 6 and 8%. That equates to 90 billion a year in lost tax receipts from the UK exchequer. So if we want this country to grow again, if we want our businesses to succeed again and start exporting again, we need to pull a major lever so that people begin to feel the benefits of economic growth now, but also by the time of the next election. This is the only game in town, so we're asking Labour MPs, and indeed any other MP, wherever they sit in the House of Commons, to join us in backing this bill today.
But many people will see this as a backward-looking approach. We're going back over old ground. We want to tie ourselves back into these European Union deals when actually we should be going out into the wider world, as the government has been doing and the Conservatives before them, and coming up with the business deals with those nations.
No, not at all. This isn't about backward looking at all. This is certainly not taking us back into the European Union. This is acknowledging that 50% of our trade is done with our European neighbours. British businesses up and down the country are asking me to cut the paperwork that they're currently labouring under. 2 billion pieces of extra paperwork have been caused as a result of this botched Brexit deal. We need to strip that away because that's costing businesses up and down this country millions of pounds every year. It's what's holding UK businesses back from growing. It's what's holding the UK back from having a surge in productivity. We need this. This is a forward-looking step. This is a pragmatic step to help British businesses grow and to help us tackle the cost of living.
It doesn't feel forward-thinking, though. It feels as though the Liberal Democrats cannot accept the result, still, of a democratic vote. Do you not think it looks disrespectful to the 51% of people that voted to leave the EU to then be talking about going in again via the back door?
Well, this is not going in again by the back door. I just remind you of Daniel Hannan, Lord Hannan, the Conservative peer, who during the Brexit debate said very clearly we would be mad to leave the customs union even if we left the European Union. He recognised then, as we should recognise now, that these are two fundamentally different things. What I'm proposing today is a pragmatic decision that would boost British business, that would help us. It's a forward-looking step. This is not Europe by the back door, but it is acknowledging that we need to try and strip away all of those non-tariff barriers that are currently holding back British businesses from growing.
Al Pinkerton, you say at the end of the day this is a pragmatic approach, but nothing's for nothing as far as the European Union is concerned. They will make demands, and potentially demands that make it more difficult for us to trade with other partners out there. Are you not concerned about getting embroiled and tied ever deeper into the European Union, wherever you say your intention is?
Well, that's why a negotiation is important. That's why we need to start those conversations. What my bill today would do would be to compel the government to start those negotiations. Now, if those negotiations go nowhere, if the government can't deliver a deal that's satisfactory, then we wouldn't have to go through with it. But I think we do have a far bigger question that we need to think about. We have China that is now increasingly being recognised as a direct enemy of our state. We have a militarist expansionist Russia, and we have a deeply capricious United States who have shown in their national security strategy that they'd be willing to interfere in European democracies. We have a question to answer, and it's not just an economic one. It's about who we heft ourselves to as we get deeper into the 21st century. My contention would be that we need to dramatically boost the size of our economy so that we can tackle the challenges that we have, the social challenges, but also to release, frankly, the military spending that we will need to find in order to protect ourselves as we get closer and closer to 2050.
OK, Al Pinkerton, thank you very much for your time this morning on GB News Breakfast.
Shall we just do very briefly back with the paper reviewers again, just on this super flu surge. I'm sick to the back teeth of every single year we get this nonsense.
It's a mutant strain this year.
It's the winter. It's the winter. We get all these infectious diseases.
Of course, and yet we hear today that schools are implementing some form of lockdown. They call it a crackdown on it. Most of the symptoms are the same symptoms of norovirus, to be honest with you. So I'm appalled that we know of the terror that lockdown actually caused during the pandemic to education, and I fear that this will only further the extent that it will not put the absolute prize and importance on education by telling children, if you don't feel well, just go home. And I'm not minimising symptoms here. There's plenty of things that schools can do to make them actually cleaner. Clean a school. Make sure your child is clean before they leave the house. Keep wiping stuff down if that's the way you want to be. Wash your hands, for goodness sake.
Well, actually, I'm appalled by this.
You're coming down with something.
Well, no, I've just recovered for something. But, I mean, I'm appalled that after COVID and all we were taught, you still see people on trains sneezing and not using a handkerchief and people not washing their hands.
I think we would have learned. Claire, David, thank you very much indeed. Let us know what you think of any of those stories. Let's get a check now on the weather.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Bram is now moving across the UK with multiple yellow and amber warnings, risk of flooding and disruptive, even damaging winds during the rest of the day. Initially, it's a wet and windy day across all parts, particularly towards the north and the west. That's where outbreaks of rain continue through the morning and into the afternoon. South Wales, Dartmoor, the focus for the greatest risk of flooding, but could be transport disruption from the rain for many. And then that wet weather eases off into the afternoon, but it's at this stage that the winds pick up. The southwesterly winds will at least bring mild weather with them, 16, even 17 Celsius in the afternoon, but it's going to turn particularly gusty into the evening, and the main cause for concern, northwest Scotland, where there is the risk of 80 to 90 mile-per-hour wind gusts peaking during the evening. Those winds could cause dangerous conditions around coasts, widespread disruption, power outages, as well as the risk of flying debris. And it's not just northwest Scotland, many parts of the UK, particularly towards the west, at risk of seeing 50, 60 mile-per-hour wind gusts, 70 around exposed coasts. As I say, the winds peaking during the evening, but it continues to be very windy overnight, particularly again towards the north and west of Scotland, where frequent showers will be moving through. Showers elsewhere as well, but drier towards the south and east. And a blustery start to Wednesday, but temperatures starting to come down now as fresher air begins to move in, 9 to 12 Celsius first thing. And then Wednesday is a blustery day. The strong winds still affecting northwest Scotland for a time, but eventually easing into the afternoon as Bram pulls away. Those blustery, gusty winds continuing to bring frequent showers, particularly to northern parts of the UK, but the showers tending to ease off across many parts of England and Wales by the afternoon. Sunshine reappears, temperatures reaching 12 to 13 Celsius. Not as mild as Tuesday, but sunnier at least.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M8 westbound is restricted between junctions 3A and 4 due to an incident causing significant delays. The M4 eastbound at the Prince of Wales Bridge is also delayed. In Buckinghamshire, the M40 southbound has 2 lanes closed between junctions 4 and 2, leading to delays over an hour. In Surrey, the M3 westbound between junctions 3 and 4 has 2 lanes closed due to a collision. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast services are disrupted between London Euston and Watford Junction, while Chiltern Railways experiences delays between Rickmansworth and London Marylebone. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
Good morning. Is President Trump's proposed peace plan for Ukraine on the brink of collapse?
Well, after a meeting of European leaders in London, President Zelensky is pushing back hard, signalling he will not accept any agreement that requires surrendering Ukrainian territory.
Well, Kyiv is set to send the US president a Europe-backed counter-proposal today. That's following the emergency Downing Street summit.
But can this renewed diplomatic push tip the scales towards peace, or will unresolved questions over security and territory keep the war raging?
Elsewhere, 2 Afghan small boat migrants have been jailed following the rape of a 15-year-old girl in Leamington Spa.
A danger-to-life weather warning is in place as Storm Bram batters Britain with a month's worth of rain and winds of up to 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, Storm Bram has now hit landfall, and already it's been causing trouble in the south of England and in South Wales. Now it's Scotland's turn. We've got rain all the way through till midday, and then those up to 90-mile-an-hour winds battering the northwest of Scotland.
Thing is happening right now. We know that Labour didn't want to have a national inquiry. They've been stalling, and it looks like they've kicked it into the long grass.
Kemi Badenoch tells the government a nationwide grooming gangs inquiry must leave no stone unturned. It's as she calls to ensure that ethnicity and religious background are examined.
Pubs under pressure. Landlords are warning the government of dire consequences if planned increases in business rates come into force, with many fearing closure.
And sport this morning, Wolves are in a terrible state at the moment as they lose again, this time 4-1 to Manchester United. Champions League returns tonight with Liverpool away into Milan and Mo Salah staying at home. And in the FA Cup third round draw, 6th tier Macclesfield have drawn the holders Crystal Palace.
I'll have the very latest on Storm Bram moving across the UK during the rest of today, bringing the risk of flooding as well as disruptive, even damaging winds. Coming up soon in the forecast.
Good morning, it's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Mark White. This is GB News Breakfast.
Now, this is my story of the day. You ready?
You've been looking
for
forward to this, haven't you?
She's been raving about it all morning.
It's the first thing I told you when I saw you this morning, didn't I? I said, we've got to talk about this. So, a wise man at NASA says he has identified the Star of Bethlehem.
No.
Really?
Yes.
It's amazing, isn't it? So you'll be familiar with the Gospel of Matthew. So the star that led the three wise men all the way to Bethlehem. Do you remember? It was in the east. And then it was right in front of them, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, you remember? And it led them to the place where Jesus lay.
In his manger.
In his manger.
Hold on. Was he away in a manger?
He was away in a
gotcha.
manger.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk over the years whether this was a star or maybe it was a meteor. People weren't sure.
Yes.
But this very clever chap at NASA thinks it's actually a comet.
Hold on. He thinks or knows?
Well, he has a theory, and I think
fine. Now we're getting to it.
I think he could be unravelling the truth here, Coity.
Do we have a name of this comet? Is it unpronounceable?
No.
I'm really sorry to say this, but isn't this old news? I've heard that it was a comet, though. I thought they said it was Halley's comet, but it was it worked out that it was about the same time, wasn't it?
I'd heard the comet theory before.
Mark, yeah.
Well, it was actually first identified by Chinese astronomers in 5 BC.
Oh, of course, that's where I heard
This has been around the block before.
Yes.
But for the first time, we've analysed how it might have looked from the ground. Oh. And the idea is that it would have got higher and higher in the sky, which is what it says.
What comets generally do, with a bit of a trail behind it.
And it would have been visible in daylight, and it would have been extraordinarily bright.
Ah.
So there you go. It was a comet the whole time.
Well, really?
Yes, I don't know who this chap is, but he's very clever. Oh, Mark Matney. Well done, Mark.
I wouldn't be saying that at the Carol concert, by the way.
Well, exactly.
Saturday. That's not going to go down too well, is it, really?
Knocking down divine intervention.
By the way, just to let you know, there's a comet coming over.
It could have been a collaboration.
Oh, that's what it was.
God could have put the comet there.
Fine.
Oh, yeah.
To lead the way.
It's clever, God, isn't
fellow
he?
Catholic schoolgirl, Ellie?
Yeah.
No.
So, there's always a collaboration.
OK.
There we are.
That's good.
Anyway, let's know what you think on that one.
Phew, saved that one, didn't you?
Well, you've got to come up with it. That's the answer. That's the answer. Great story, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
A divine sat-nav, if you will.
Yes, very good. Very good.
Oh, very good. Should we look at some news?
Yes, our top story now, where negotiations to end Putin's war reach a critical stage as European leaders are poised to give a mammoth donation to Ukraine.
Yes, up to £100 billion of frozen Russian assets is set to be released in the coming days, with the Prime Minister marking this moment as a critical stage in ending the war.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer welcomed President Zelensky, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and President Emmanuel Macron to 10 Downing Street to host a coalition of the willing meeting, with all leaders hopeful of a financial support to Ukraine that would be forthcoming in the days ahead.
Well, with peace talks between both Ukrainians and the US over the weekend, could these efforts be enough to end 4 years of conflict?
Well, our political correspondent, Olivia Utley, joins us now. Look, yesterday, I mean, it was all about the optics, of course, which are important, wrapping the arms of support around President Zelensky. But I thought it was really interesting for Sir Keir Starmer to be quoted as saying that this deal to free up hundreds or 100 billion euros of frozen assets is significant. I mean, it seems unlikely, but that would be a game changer if it happened.
Well, exactly. We thought that yesterday was going to be all about the optics. It often feels that as though Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are just calling all the shots in this war. But it turns out there was actually some substance to that meeting, the E3, as they call themselves, Emmanuel Macron, President Merz and Keir Starmer. And what they are saying is that the £100 billion worth of Russian assets that have been frozen since the start of the war, including £8 billion in UK bank accounts could be given back to Ukraine, either to fund the rebuilding of the country in the event of a peace settlement, or to allow them to continue fighting for probably another 2 years. Now, that would be a very, very significant amount of money, which could really make a huge difference in rebuilding Ukraine. But the point is that it is essentially the last card that the Europeans can play. It's the last bit of leverage they've got, because if they were to give this money to Ukraine to fund the war for another 2 years, then that would mean serious trouble for Russia. So essentially, it's the Europeans trying to say, look, we see what you're doing, Donald Trump, but we are not going to let you impose this peace deal that Ukraine doesn't want on Ukraine. And if you do, then we will allow Ukraine to carry on the war for another 2 years. If Zelensky is allowed to have a bit more of a say in that deal and get to a deal on better terms for Ukraine, then that money could indeed be used to help fund the restoration of Ukraine. So basically, what the E3 did yesterday is play their top trump. Now we've got to see how Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin will respond.
Yeah, indeed. But still, big questions remain, don't they, Liv, in terms of questions on security, territory. I mean, does Russia even want peace? It looks as though Putin is preparing for more war, not less.
It does, and it doesn't sound as though Zelensky is interested in accepting the peace deal as it stands. So it looks as though a peace deal is essentially as far away as it has ever been. But perhaps this card from the European side will do something to change the balance of these negotiations. The only hold-up at the moment is that Belgium, which holds a lot of the money in its accounts, is a bit worried about going ahead with unfreezing these assets, because it believes that Belgium, could be legally liable for the sum of money, which amounts to, I think it was something like 2/3 of its own GDP. So there is a bit of a stumbling block here, but Keir Starmer has a meeting with the Belgian Prime Minister on Friday, so perhaps that will ease the road a little.
OK, Olivia Utley, thank you very much for bringing us the latest there.
Thanks, Liv.
Now, severe weather warnings have been issued ahead of Storm Bram, which is forecast to hit the United Kingdom today and tomorrow.
Yes, gusts of up to 90 miles per hour are likely across northwest Scotland, but strong winds are going to be felt widely and lots of rain too.
Well, Tony Maguire is in Scotland for us at the moment, looking fairly... oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Why do they always shove the Scots and the Irish out every time there's a storm?
Oh, Tony.
I'm going to say, how's it looking? Just take it away.
Well, I'm really envious of that cosy, warm sofa and studio you two have this morning, you rascals. But hey, we still got all the best jobs up here in Scotland. Certainly Storm Bram is shaping up to be one of them. Up to 90 mile/an-hour gusts of wind expected over the course of the today. It's quite interesting that up in Scotland, at least, it's pretty much a day of two halves. We're getting this driving rain sodding all of the country all the way up till midday, and then all of a sudden at midday the rain is expected to just stop. But it's at that point that the winds come in, and of course the northwest of Scotland joins in with the south of England and the south of Wales with those amber warnings, and that's when the real pressure starts on the transport services. Some of the train services that run around Mallaig and that area up in the northwest of Scotland expected to just not run after later on this afternoon. But for now, at least, of course, Scotland being an island of a country of so many islands, then it's the ferry services. Although this one behind me is actually still running over to Kilcraig.
You made it tough stuff. Tony Maguire, I'm really feeling for you. So get inside, get a nice cup of hot tea and get warm and stay safe. Thank you very much for bringing that to us. Poor thing. I feel for him. I know how that feels to stand out in the storms.
Oh, I've been there.
Oh, and so have you, yes.
On the end of a link many a time up in Scotland, yeah.
I even
in
felt
blizzard conditions, usually.
I even felt bad for him waiting there, because he came and spoke to us at the top of the hour, didn't he, to tease his segment. And I said, I'll just let him go sit in the car for 10 minutes. But anyway, thank you, Tony, for braving the weather for us this morning on GB News.
Now, just a reminder, friends of GB News can vote in today's You Decide poll for free by scanning the QR code now. And this morning, we're asking, would you pay more for a pint to save your pub? Well, get in touch and do let us know. I would. I'd pay more, obviously.
Would you?
well...
I think lots of Brits would.
Yeah.
Especially that you're local. You want to support your local.
And I like my drinks.
And you like your drinks.
You know, if
I mean,
it's
who
the choice between paying more
or not having it at all.
Or not getting a drink, then I'm certainly going to pay more.
I think we know what you're going to say here, but do vote anyway. And you can get in touch the usual way as well, gbnews.com/yoursay. Also, if you do want to be a friend of GB News, you can do so for free. Here's how.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
Sorry, now I've lost my mind. We're having some technical issues here. You take this away, Mark.
Oh, yes. Well, that was time now, of course, for the Great British Giveaway. A new chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year. It's an incredible £85,000. Here's all the details you need to have to enter this and chance your luck on £85,000.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date with an incredible £85,000 to be won. That's right, £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you with your feet up, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. £85,000 is a massive amount of money and it could be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
So the very best of luck with that. Now, if you're wondering what we were so chaotic for a while, it's these little things, these packs that allow us to hear our wonderful colleagues in the gallery there when they're telling us to wrap up and stop yapping on
and what's coming
as we
next,
normally do. But over the course of a 3 or 4 hour show, the batteries tend to sort of run out, so we can find ourselves you know, having to do a quick change, and that's what you caught us in the middle of.
And then presenting blindly with no comms with the gallery team. So your pack went naturally, and then mine went as well.
Wow.
So it's all going very well.
But we're back with you now, and the incredible thing is I can hear these guys in the gallery, and they're so wonderful. You should hear the choir that goes every time there's a carol singing contest. They're marvellous. We'll get a microphone in there.
Yeah, we had a nice sing-song, didn't we, in the break? It's just, it's very wholesome, very, very wholesome. Right, should we get a check on the weather, even though we got quite a good indication with Tony, didn't we?
Yes, indeed. Here's Aidan McGivern.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Bram is now moving across the UK with multiple yellow and amber warnings, risk of flooding and disruptive, even damaging winds during the rest of the day. Initially, it's a wet and windy day across all parts, particularly towards the north and the west. That's where outbreaks of rain continue through the morning and into the afternoon. South Wales, Dartmoor, the focus for the greatest risk of flooding, but could be transport disruption from the rain for many. And then that wet weather eases eases off into the afternoon, but it's at this stage that the winds pick up. The southwesterly winds will at least bring mild weather with them, 16, even 17 Celsius in the afternoon, but it's going to turn particularly gusty into the evening, and the main cause for concern, northwest Scotland, where there is the risk of 80 to 90 mile-per-hour wind gusts peaking during the evening. Those winds could cause dangerous conditions around coasts, widespread disruption, power outages, as well as the risk of flying debris. And it's not just northwest Scotland, many parts of the UK, particularly towards the west, at risk of seeing 50, 60 mile-per-hour wind gusts, 70 around exposed coasts. As I say, the wind's peaking during the evening, but it continues to be very windy overnight, particularly again towards the north and west of Scotland, where frequent showers will be moving through. Showers elsewhere as well, but drier towards the south and east. And a blustery start to Wednesday, but temperatures starting to come down now as fresher air begins to move in, 9 to 12 Celsius first thing. And then Wednesday is a blustery day. The strong winds still affecting northwest Scotland for a time, but eventually easing into the afternoon as Bram pulls away. Those blustery, gusty winds continuing to bring frequent showers, particularly to northern parts of the UK, but the showers tending to ease off across many parts of England and Wales by the afternoon. Sunshine reappears, temperatures reaching 12 to 13 Celsius. Not as mild as Tuesday, but sunnier at least.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we are hoping to speak to the Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander, in just a few minutes' time. That's next on GB News Breakfast with Mark and Ellie.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable. What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
True Grinch fashion, one neighbour has written a bar humbug letter to a festive father-to-be, outraged by what he calls Dave Goodlin's cheap and tacky Christmas display outside his house.
I mean, there is no such thing as cheap and tacky Christmas display. Christmas is cheap and tacky. Dave accidentally, it happens, come on, brought a 20-foot inflatable Santa, believing it was just 4 foot tall, and inflated it outside his house.
Well, the neighbour's fury and Dave's giant Santa have now gone viral, and he's been left with little choice but to deflate the big man himself.
Or looking at that picture, went and brought a snowman that matched. Any case, we don't know. So joining us now is the man himself, Dave Goodings. Dave, you must be a bit deflated by this story.
Hello, good afternoon, guys. Yes, very deflated, because last weekend, the Sunday just gone, we decided to put up our Christmas decorations. You've got the tree behind me, and then outside the front, we've got 2 giant Christmas inflatables, one being a giant snowman and the other a Father Christmas.
So people have complained. Grinches have complained about this.
It's just the one complaint letter that we've had through the post. So we put them up on the Sunday, on the weekend just gone. And then I got home from work on Monday to an envelope that had been posted through the door. There's, no writing on the envelope, which I thought was a little bit weird. I opened it up and lo and behold, in the envelope was this long letter, all in capital letters. I couldn't believe it, what I was reading. And at first, my heart sunk because I'm not the kind of person at all. I hate upsetting anyone. I hate any confrontation, stuff like that. But for me, I was reading it and I was like, oh, have I upset someone? But then after reading it a couple of times, it's so silly. It's a time of year where you can let your hair down, have a little bit of fun at Christmas.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 8:21 and joining us live from Westminster now is the Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander. Very good morning to you, Heidi.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Morning. Let's start with Ukraine, shall we? And this coalition of the willing meeting yesterday. We saw Zelensky, Starmer, Merz and Macron all in Downing Street. And the Prime Minister's saying that this deal to release £100 billion worth of frozen Russian assets is only days away. How realistic do you think that really is? I mean, Belgium's always been a blocker to this. They have the majority of those frozen assets in Belgian bank accounts. I mean, Russia won't accept this lying down, will they? There's a potential that they're going to sue. I'm sure President Trump would have a view as well. So how likely do you think this really is to happen?
So I do think it's positive that the discussions seem to be proceeding well, and I think it was really important that the Prime Minister hosted President Zelensky in Downing Street yesterday, along with Emmanuel Macron and Friedrich Merz. Clearly, we need to do this properly, but if we can unlock some of these frozen Russian assets to ideally invest in the reconstruction of Ukraine, that would be a good thing. Obviously, we need to try and make progress on getting a ceasefire, because this conflict has been raging and doing untold damage and creating such devastation to the people of Ukraine. And I'm also mindful that thousands of Russian soldiers are losing their lives every week as well in this conflict. And so for the good of everyone, I think we need to bring an end to this conflict and bring about that just and lasting peace that the Prime Minister has spoken about. Clearly the efforts of President Trump do mean, along with the efforts of the European partners to Zelensky, that it looks as if we might be closer than we have been in the last 4 years to bringing a resolution to this conflict. But it's vital that that dialogue continues, and it's vital that we continue to work together to consider how we can best unlock some of those frozen Russian assets for the benefit of Ukraine.
Can I ask you about this horrific case in Leamington Spa, the rape of a 15-year-old girl by 2 Afghan asylum seekers, and the news that one of those 17-year-olds, and it is a guesstimate, might be able to resist attempts to deport him from the country because of the fact that he pleaded guilty a day before his estimated 17th birthday. Isn't it about time that we move to a process of actually carrying out medical and scientific tests to be able to give us a more accurate idea of the age of these people that are clearly borderline at best, that are coming across the channel and claiming to be children?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say it sounds like an absolutely horrific case, and clearly, no matter what the immigration status of perpetrators in these sorts of horrific crimes, they need to be dealt with robustly and swiftly. I'm not going to get into the specifics of this case. I do understand that actually age verification is very, very difficult to do, but the Home Secretary has announced a raft of new measures to tackle irregular migration to this country. I think the British people have seen that she is someone who is a serious politician and is going to crack on with this job, and I think she will be looking at a whole range of different issues so that we can make sure that we've got a robust immigration system that has integrity to it, and that we can enforce against. But as I say, I'm not going to get into the specifics of that particular case.
We are almost out of time with you, so I just need to ask you about what you're here to talk to us about today, which is Great British Railways. The brand is going to be unveiled by you today. Is this just a paint job on the same old railway, just beset with the same problems and frustrations for passengers?
No, not at all. This government is serious about bringing change to our railways for decades. People have experienced delays, cancellations. I'm pleased to say that when you look at the train operating companies that are in public ownership at the moment, we've got lower cancellation rates than the train operating companies that are still privately operated. It is an exciting moment as we renationalise the railways. We stop the leakage of money to the private train operating companies. Over £150 million a year has been paid in management fees in recent years to those train operating companies. Sorry, it was up to £150 million a year. We're stopping that by bringing the train operating companies back into public ownership. We're setting up Great British Railways to better integrate the management of the tracks and the train. We're also giving people a sneak preview today of the new app, which will mean that they can get information about fares, ticketing, timetables, things like whether the lifts are working at a station, all on one app in the palm of their hand. No booking fees will be associated with that app as well. And along with the fares freeze that we announced at the budget a couple of weeks ago for next year, meaning that Britain's hard-working families can keep more of their hard-earned cash when they're using the rail network. I think this is we're entering a new era when it comes to the rail network in Britain. A rail network that people can be proud of and one in which they can rely on.
OK, Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander, thank you very much for your time this morning on GB News Breakfast.
Now, moving on, and pub landlords have warned the government of dire consequences if planned increases in business rates come into force in 2026, saying they'll face financial ruin.
Well, pub bosses say they face financial ruin after Rachel Reeves' stealth tax raid in the budget as pint prices are ramped up, opening hours are cut and staff are laid off in desperate attempts to keep running.
So this morning we're asking, would you pay more for your pint to save local pubs?
Well, joining us now is pub owner Mark Bridgen and Communications Officer for the IEA, Reem Ibrahim. Really good to see you both this morning. Mark, let's start with you. We've spoken to you a lot about your lovely pub. Would you want people to pay more for a pint in order to save your business?
Well, it's looking like the only option. Yeah, with the increased taxes on every level and now the stress around rates increase and valuation agency, I don't know anyone that is making any money, so it feels like the only thing to do is to raise your prices. The irony is that actually at the moment many of us are actually putting down our prices to try and get people through the doors. You know, in a desperate bid to stay alive, we're having to, try and offer even more value in the times. But it just feels like an impossible quandary. But yeah, with the duty going up on beer and all of the other challenges, yeah, I think we're getting to the point where we're going to have to ask if people really value their local, that is use it or lose it time.
Reem, can we just ask you, do you think the government is just tone deaf to the plight of our landlords of pubs and restaurants across the country?
They absolutely are. I mean, over 21,000 pubs have closed since the 1980s. That's half of that in the last 2 decades alone. So I really do think that the government have taxed, regulated, restricted pubs to the oblivion. But this is where I disagree with Mark. I don't think it's up to businesses themselves to say, you know what, we're going to remove our profit margins even further. We know that the hikes in national insurance contributions and increase in the minimum wage have a huge impact on small businesses, including pubs. But pubs are a very special case because they're also subject to things like alcohol taxes. They also have to pay extraordinarily high energy costs. So it's not up to pubs or indeed people, the community, for them to say, you know what, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to pay more for our pints. The point is the government needs to stay out of the way. And it really is the root of all of these problems. Businesses, if they are doing well and they provide a service or a product that people want, people will give them money. That's how the market works. When the government stay in the way and they actually say, you know what, we are going to increase taxes, we are going to squeeze businesses as much money as we possibly can in order to spend huge amounts of money. We know that public spending as a proportion of GDP is now about 45%. So almost half the economy is the government. And that's why wonderful pubs across this great country are now being squeezed to the oblivion, because the government cannot simply just stay out of the way.
I'm afraid we've got to leave it there. You two, we are out of time, but thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Hopefully you'll have a bumper Christmas, Mark.
Yeah, hopefully, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Where can people find you, Mark, actually, we should say?
It's www.thedog.co.uk, and it's the dog at Wingham in Kent.
Wingham in Kent. If you're anywhere close, yeah, go and buy a pint from Mark. Thanks, Reem. Good to see you. Thanks, Mark. Now, just a reminder that friends of GB News can vote in today's You Decide poll for free by scanning the QR code now. And this morning we were asking, what would you pay, and would you pay more for a pint to save your pub? The results are in, and we have a tie.
Well, I can understand people on the one hand don't want to pay more, on the other hand might be willing to pay more if you're like me and you need your drink, like your drink. Yeah, so...
But times are tough, aren't they?
No, they are.
People saying they're paying enough for a pint already. Yeah, so 50% of you saying yes, 50% of you saying no. Keep them coming in. You can scan the QR code on your screen now, or you can head to gbnews.com. If you do want to become a friend of GB News, you can do that for free. Here's how.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
Now, if you're travelling to work or school, well, Storm Bram's out there doing its very worst, particularly in the northwest of the country. So really do take care out there if you're listening to us on GB News Radio. Here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. A broken-down vehicle has restricted the A1 at Abbotsview on-slip northbound. On the M4 eastbound at the Prince of Wales Bridge, long delays follow a recent incident. In Bedford, a collision on the A4, 21 southbound at the A6 junction, has closed one lane, causing half-hour delays. In South Gloucestershire, the M4 westbound between junctions 20 and 22 faces an hour and a half of congestion delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast is experiencing disruptions between London Euston and Watford Junction, and Chiltern Railways is affected between Rickmansworth and London Marylebone. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense.
and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News Breakfast with the lovely Ellie and
the lovely Mark.
Not so lovely, old and grumpy, Mark White. But now someone who's definitely not old and grumpy, the doyen
certainly
of sports
I think you're quite lovely, Mark. Don't you listen to what they say out there?
And he's sporty.
He is sporty,
Which you like.
Well, of course I do, yeah. You seem so surprised about it.
Sporty in front of a television, not actually out on a pitch.
Right, OK, that's all of us anyway. Yeah. So Champions League is tonight.
Yes.
And one game probably most people are going to be looking very carefully at is Inter Milan versus Liverpool. Now, Liverpool have had a bit of a bad time, obviously, but it's this Mo Salah
He's not going to
situation.
start, is he?
He is not going to Milan. Now, Mo Salah has said that he's been dropped a few times by Arne Slot. Said he's been thrown under the bus. He's a scapegoat. He's not getting the respect. He doesn't need to fight for his position. He's got no relationship with the manager. This is not working out so well, is it? It doesn't really sound so well. So where is this going to end? He's got the African Cup of Nations coming up, so the only next chance he's got to play for Liverpool is going to be Brighton at the weekend. And ironically, a man that played for Liverpool and then played for Brighton. This has only just entered my head. And someone that truly is a legend. So there's a man that's got 5 titles, 1 FA Cup, 3 League Cups and a European Cup. The great Mark Lawrenson joins us this morning. Morning, Mark.
Morning, Coity, all right?
Yeah, really good. Lovely to see you. But the thing is, you know, I'm not blowing smoke at all, but you are a legend. You've won all that stuff. But when it came to the end of your career at Anfield, did you think, you know what, I'm going to go to the press and I'm going to start shouting out because I shouldn't be treated this way?
No, you wouldn't have dreamt of it, to be quite honest with you. It's just, I find this very, very strange. I don't know for certain, but I think there's a lot about his agent with the manager, with the player at the moment.
Yeah.
I think he's probably pressed a few buttons. I never understand this, Coity. Why? Right? If you're a player and you've got a problem with the manager, go and knock on his door and say, look, what's the story? You've left me out a couple of times. What you're thinking? Am I not doing this? Am I not doing that? Which he hasn't been doing, by the way. But just go in, and instead of telling the whole world, it's like, you know, it's like a bit like a crybaby, isn't it? Go running off to everybody. Just go and see the manager and say, what's the issue? What can we sort? Can we sort it out or not sort it out? And well, you do wonder. Go on.
No, I was going to say that this is what it seems like, but it's the ego, isn't it? It's the ego. He apparently never speaks to the press. It's about 4 times, they're saying, in the last goodness knows how many years. But whenever he does, everybody thinks, OK, he's going to moan about something and he's not going to be happy.
Yeah, well, I don't think he was moaning about his 440 grand a week, was he?
No, he was quite happy. He was quite happy with that.
I bet he was. I bet he was singing and dancing on the bloody sink and everything. So, look, it's just... I'm wondering now. I'm thinking, is he just trying to get into such a position where the club say, you know what, would you like to leave? And we know where he'll go if he's going to leave, which would be Saudi, would it not?
Saudi Arabia. Mm.
Saudi Arabia. So is that whole part of it?
I look at this and I just think there's This man has earned so much money. I mean, you can go to Saudi Arabia and earn even more, that's fine. But does his legacy mean anything to him? Liverpool fans adored him. He's a legend at Liverpool. Surely he's the one that's disrespecting the club, not the club disrespecting him.
Yeah, totally agree, 100%. It's just, I don't know. It's that everybody's different, aren't they? And you're guided in many, many ways by, if you've got an agent, and I don't know his agent, never ever met him. I just have this picture which I just kind of think he's making sure that they stay in the headlines, and it's not the players' problem, it's not his doing or whatever. Look, it's messy. Well, I wish it was messy. It's messy, so. Yeah. So they just need to. I feel sorry for the manager. I mean, he's under a massive pressure already.
Of course he is.
We can't keep a clean sheet. We can't win a game. I can imagine him driving home and thinking, "What the hell's happening here?" Especially from what happened last season. But just get together and try and sort it out. And as you said before, I mean, in terms of a player, he's been absolutely brilliant. Himself and the three midfield players won the league for Liverpool last year, and at the moment they're nowhere near winning a game.
And for me, I look at players get dropped from time to time, and then that's it. One more quick one, and that is, so there's only one more chance that he can play before the African Cup of Nations, which is coming up. Will Mo Salah play for Liverpool again, do you think?
I would say no, but he'll still have his bib on.
Yeah, OK, I know what you're saying. Good to speak to you, Mark. Thanks a lot for your time.
Cheers.
Always a pleasure. Mark Lawrenson, Liverpool legend.
He is a legend.
He proper legend. Never threw his toys out the pram. Always did what everybody said. But
no, old school. This is the thing. You know, most of the old school players accepted. They loved the sport. They were in it for those reasons, not to be some.
And if your form's bad and then you get dropped for it, you fight for your salary, saying I shouldn't have to fight because of what I've done before. It's nonsense. Not good enough, I don't think.
No. All right, Coity, thanks very much.
I've just heard I've been dropped from tomorrow. Apparently my form's not as good enough. So I'll keep fighting for my place.
Never. You'll be back tomorrow and you're going to have birthdays for us.
OK.
Exciting. Do stay with us still to come. Choc horror, as one favourite sweet treat, is now more expensive than steak. We're going to find out what it is next. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's not just the UK seeing some unsettled weather at the moment. It's also been unsettled for much of the week in Cyprus. That continues into Wednesday. And the trailing weather front from Storm Bram brings thicker cloud and some showery rain into the Canary Islands, as well as much of Iberia. This is a slow-moving weather front, so thicker cloud and some outbreaks of showery rain for much of Spain through Wednesday into Thursday. A lot of fine weather through central parts of the Med, particularly Italy, and above-average temperatures for the time of year. Plenty of sunny spells.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
as I say, now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
And I'm going to start with you. Talk to me about autism and why you got involved with this, because some people don't know the story as to why you set up Anna Kennedy Online.
Well, I have two sons. They're now 32 and 35, and I'm proud to say that my eldest son, Patrick, is in Stockholm at the moment on his own, so that's like a big step for him to go on holiday, and he's loving it. So they both were diagnosed fairly young, and the support at the time was just non-existent.
Yeah.
So we had to set up our own school, and then we set up a vocational college for my youngest son, Angelo.
Now, how do you know that they're autistic? Is there a blood test? Is it something where you have a list of symptoms? Or because some people say, oh, I've got ADHD and this and that, and I think sometimes people conflate it with autism. Are there parallels with the two, or are they totally separate? Because it's confusing.
They're very different from each other, both Patrick and Angelo. So Angelo was diagnosed fairly early at 2.5, 3. He passed all the milestones and then he just lost everything. His speech, eye contact, didn't want to be touched, didn't even want me to hug him at the time, running from one end of the room to the other, squealing, and it was just like, what is going on? And as a mum, you're thinking, what have I done wrong? Have I done something wrong?
Oh, no.
Patrick was diagnosed fairly early again, but he was premature, and I thought the difficulties that he was having because he was 11 weeks premature, I thought, is it because he had a bit of a difficult start, in and out of hospital. And then he was diagnosed at 4, and then we found out when he was 7, when he was struggling at school. He was finding school difficult, being bullied. So it's an autism spectrum condition, and if you feel that there might be, something that I'm not quite sure, I can't get a handle on it, please go and see your GP and just ask for your child to be assessed. But the difficulty at the minute is the waiting list is so long to get a diagnosis.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Welcome back to GB News, 13 minutes to 9 o'clock. And time for the paper review. We're joined by the political commentator, Claire Muldoon, and also the former newspaper editor, the award-winning David Wooding. David, you've spotted a really interesting story, again, on the small boats crisis, the Channel migrant crisis, that really is concerning, that it's not just the potential for many people to break into this country illegally, but to be involved in the likes of the heroin trade.
Yes, the Daily Telegraph have done a really good investigation, and they found that these people who are using the small boats, as passengers as it were, are being used as drugs mules. They're smuggling in up to £75,000 worth of heroin and other drugs at a time. What's happening is that the smuggling gangs are giving them a VIP tickets free if they agree to swallow the drugs and smuggle them in. They swallow them in condoms and things such as that. And then it's all being hit in the drugs market back in the UK. So, yet again, we're seeing that the small boats crisis isn't just about legal migrants, it's also fueling crime in this country. We've seen the rapes and sexual abuse and other such crimes that have happened near where the migrants are by some of the migrants who are being housed, but also they're actually adding to the drugs crisis in Britain.
Yeah, Claire, we shouldn't be surprised, really, given the parallels that there are between the people smuggling operations and drug smuggling operations. And we know that many people that have come across the channel have just gone on to work for criminals anyway, in cannabis farms, working in illegal industries.
So when Yvette Cooper, was Home Secretary, what was that phrase she coined time and time again? Smash the gangs. How did that go? The only thing that she seemed to have smashed is, her door out of being the Home Secretary. It's really utterly appalling. I am not surprised at this at all. Gone are the days when drug smuggling used to come through freight ships or even on airplanes. It is so sophisticated now with the uptake in apps that kids use to get their drugs, and older people as well, apparently Snapchat, all the rest of them. And we're going to cover a story on TikTok in a minute as well. So it's really not surprising that this is the case. They're flooding the country with sexual deviants, rapists, and people who really ought not to be here under the purest form of asylum seeking, and drugs. What are we coming to? We're like the dumping ground of everything on this island now. The only things we seem to be sufficient in is housing illegal migrants, asylum seekers and drugs.
Claire, let's stay with you, shall we? And we'll also stay with the Daily Telegraph. But this is page 3 today. 1 in 4 teenagers gets mental health advice from AI chatbots.
Yeah.
I mean, this is alarming.
Right, so I think the NHS and I think social workers and I think educationalists are really missing a trick here. The teenagers have become so reliant on the internet, on finding out information, because school classes have gone online. We often find that there's no textbooks now for kids to use at schools. Everything then is searched for, looked for online. Is there any surprise now that kids are actually thinking, gosh, I don't feel too well, there's something going on? I'm not surprised they're actually chatting to Chat GPT, because it's become so sophisticated now. The whole AI of it, it's like it can be like talking to a real person.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And they're calling out, you know, for direction. They're calling out for help. And this is where they're getting it from. I would far rather they were able to go to an appropriate adult and speak to people, speak to human beings instead of robots. For something as indicative and as something that is so important to life.
Yeah, but as we all know, I mean, mental health support, it's been decimated, hasn't it?
Well, CAMHS is now no longer in schools. Yeah. You cannot get a CAMHS referral for a child via social work or indeed in education. And for them to, I mean, they're supposed to be living in such a woolly, friendly, let's be kind hashtag world. The reality is it's not.
Well, David, staying with tech.
Yes.
So Keir Starmer, not cynical at all, has got himself onto TikTok just ahead of that key visit to Beijing.
Yes, he's joined the other social media platform. I followed him last night when I heard the news.
Oh, that would have been a hoot.
He's got to...
What was he doing, dancey videos?
Well, his first video was him and his wife Victoria walking down the corridor of Downing Street towards the famous Black Door, and some funny music going on in the background. It was clearly like a Christmassy sound of music, and it made me think of the film Love Actually, although I don't think Keir Starmer and
he's no Hugh Grant.
Look like,
what was the big reveal? I mean,
well, no, it was just there were only 3 posts when I checked again this morning. So, but the interesting thing is that TikTok is not government officials are not allowed to have TikTok on their phones
I thought they weren't
because
allowed
it's
to have
run
it.
by the Chinese government.
Yes.
So he will not be posting them himself. It will be somebody else with a phone, a special media. I wonder how much he's being paid. There's something for us to investigate. Somebody will be doing that, and of course TikTok. I was just checking this morning. The TikTok we see here isn't available in China. He's going to China next month on a trade mission. But he won't be able to see his own TikTok when he gets out there. But of course, he will curry favour with the Chinese by being on there.
Let's hope there might be some form of poetic licence here and some irony that the only TikTok that we'll be listening to is the TikTok time it'll take to get him out of 10 Downing Street.
But it's just so cringy. It's like Dad dancing, you know. Stop it. We don't want to see you. You know, and obviously he hasn't done any exciting videos. Just walked down a corridor with his wife to some music.
But that's the other threat I think we've got actually to democracy and the way that children are getting their political values is through apps and tech.
Yeah, good point, Claire. David, thank you very much for your company this morning. Let us know what you make on those stories. gbnews.com/you'll say. Let's get a check now on the weather and Storm Bram with Aidan McGibbon.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Bram is now moving across the UK with multiple yellow and amber warnings, risk of flooding and disruptive, even damaging winds during the rest of the day. Initially, it's a wet and windy day across all parts, particularly towards the north and the west. That's where outbreaks of rain continue through the morning and into the afternoon. South Wales, Dartmoor, the focus for the greatest risk of flooding, but could be transport disruption from the rain for many. And then that wet weather eases eases off into the afternoon, but it's at this stage that the winds pick up. The southwesterly winds will at least bring mild weather with them, 16, even 17 Celsius in the afternoon, but it's going to turn particularly gusty into the evening, and the main cause for concern, northwest Scotland, where there is the risk of 80 to 90 mile-per-hour wind gusts peaking during the evening. Those winds could cause dangerous conditions around coasts, widespread disruption, power outages, as well as the risk of flying debris. And it's not just northwest Scotland, many parts of the UK, particularly towards the west, at risk of seeing 50, 60 mile-per-hour wind gusts, 70 around exposed coasts. As I say, the wind's peaking during the evening, but it continues to be very windy overnight, particularly again towards the north and west of Scotland, where frequent showers will be moving through. Showers elsewhere as well, but drier towards the south and east. And a blustery start to Wednesday, but temperatures starting to come down now as fresher air begins to move in, 9 to 12 Celsius first thing. And then Wednesday is a blustery day. The strong winds still affecting northwest Scotland for a time, but eventually easing into the afternoon as Bram pulls away. Those blustery, gusty winds continuing to bring frequent showers, particularly to northern parts of the UK, but the showers tending to ease off across many parts of England and Wales by the afternoon. Sunshine reappears, temperatures reaching 12 to 13 Celsius. Not as mild as Tuesday, but sunnier at least.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 8 million followers across social media. Thank you for making us a part of your daily life.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Disruptions continue on the A75 westbound near Mousewell due to a collision. On the M61 southbound in Lancashire, expect delays from an incident affecting one lane. The M6 northbound in Warwickshire has an accident closing one lane, causing 30-minute delays. On the A421 southbound at the junction with the A6 in Bedford, a collision has closed one lane with 15-minute delays. A crash on the M3 westbound in Surrey affects one lane, and on the trains, delays continue on Avanti West Coast and Chiltern Railway services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with, each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good morning. Is President Trump's proposed peace plan for Ukraine on the brink of collapse?
Well, after a meeting of European leaders in London, President Zelensky is pushing back hard, signalling he will not accept any agreement that requires surrendering Ukrainian territory.
Well, Kyiv is set to send the US president a Europe-backed counter-proposal today. That's following the emergency Downing Street summit.
But can this renewed diplomatic push tip the scales towards peace, or will unresolved questions over security and territory keep the war raging?
Elsewhere, 2 Afghan small boat migrants have been jailed following the rape of a 15-year-old girl in Leamington Spa.
A danger to life weather warning is in place as Storm Bram batters Britain with a month's worth of rain and winds of up to 90 miles an hour.
Well, Britain's facing 4 different amber weather warnings, with Storm Bram smashing the country with rain and high winds up to 90 miles an hour when the storm appears in the northwest of Scotland today.
Thing is happening right now. We know that Labour didn't want to have a national inquiry. They've been stalling, and it looks like they've kicked it into the long grass.
Kemi Badenoch tells the government a nationwide grooming gangs inquiry must leave no stone unturned. She's also calling to ensure that ethnicity and religious background are examined.
Pubs under pressure. Landlords are warning the government of dire consequences if planned increases in business rates come into force, with many fearing closure.
I'll have the very latest on Storm Bram moving across the UK during the rest of the day, bringing the risk of flooding as well as disruptive, even damaging winds. Coming up soon in the forecast.
Good morning, it's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Mark White. This is GB News Breakfast.
Lots of you very happy to see Mr. Mark White here this morning on breakfast.
Oh, yeah, well, I just kind of wandered in my slippers on the way to the old folks' home. Took a wrong turn. I'm easily confused.
Oh, well, lots of you loving your style this morning. Shelley says, absolutely loving Mark White on breakfast this morning with Ellie. So nice to listen to the news with him. Am I allowed to say as well that Mark is not a bad start to the day? Winky face. Oh, you've got a fan in Shelley.
Oh, thank you very much, Shelley.
Meadow says, great show. We need more of Mark on GB News and his straight talking that aligns with the silent majority of the country.
So you just want me to be grumpster all day long? Well, I am grumpy most of the day anyway.
I've got another one from Patricia. So lovely to see the twinkly-eyed Mark White on breakfast today. Oh!
It's the drink. I started early.
Patricia's a fan as well. So lovely. Do keep them coming in, gbnews.com/social. So you've got quite a few as well, haven't you?
Yeah, so we've had some responses to, of course, that horrific story that we've been running all morning about the 2 Afghan asylum seekers convicted and jailed for raping that 15-year-old girl in Leamington Spa. And, of course, the fact that one of these asylum seekers might be able to avoid deportation because of his age or his assumed age. It's only a guesstimate. Cindy says, I would love to know just how much migrant legal aid costs each year. Well, many, many millions of pounds, I can tell you, because we have wraparound services for these illegal migrants when they cross the English Channel. There is lots of activists and human rights lawyers that are there and representing them every step of the way through their various appeals.
Tremendous expense.
Yeah, Anne says, so the EU are still buying oil from Russia onto the issues around the Ukrainian war, yet they're planning on using Russian money to help Ukraine. Well, that's an interesting point. To be honest, because we talk about all the money we're giving Ukraine, that pales into the money that Europe has actually given Russia, buying its oil and gas, maybe not directly, but it goes off to a third country and gets refined and then is then sold, I should say, to these countries in Europe as a product from that country, when actually its origin is Russia, and Russia benefits from that.
Yeah, exactly, and they've been trying to cut down on that with India, haven't they, and oil
And failing.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's also true. Joe says, Coalition of the Willing is the only card game in town where none of the players are actually at the table. And Yorkshire Pudding, I don't think that's your real name, says, well done, GB News. Light and breezy breakfast show and viewer focused. You have given me a spring in my step. Long may this theme continue. Well, I hope so, because the news has been pretty depressing, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I say, that story yesterday about the two teenage asylum seekers, absolutely horrific. They abducted and raped a 15-year-old girl. They've both been given custodial sentences.
Yes, Jan Jahanzeb was given 10 years and 8 months, with Izar Niazol sentenced to 9 years and 10 months for the attack which took place in Leamington Spa in May.
Well, the pair who've been ordered to register as sex offenders for life could now face deportation, with their victims saying the attack changed her as a person, although one of the teenagers, as we've been discussing, might well avoid deportation if their lawyers argue a case on their behalf.
Yeah, and the lawyers are suggesting that is going to be the case. Well, let's speak now to immigration lawyer Ivan Sampson, who joins us now. Ivan, this is just the most horrific case.
Terrible. Absolutely. My heart goes out to this poor girl, what she experienced. And really, these, I don't think the sentences were long enough, in my personal view. I don't think they could have been much longer. What a horrific attack. And my sympathy goes out to the victim.
And there's concern now, isn't there, Ivan, about the younger individual of the two, because his lawyer has already spoken saying he will be appealing, that they are hoping that he won't be deported. In fact, his lawyer's gone as far as to say that he could have a long life in Britain. And in a sense, he's right, isn't he? Because if they are only 17 years old, if we are to believe that guesstimate, because it is only a guesstimate, if they serve 2/3 of their sentence, they've been given 9 years, they could be out in 6 or 7. I mean, that would make them 25-year-old men. What do you make of that?
I mean, that's a normal determinative sentence. 2/3 is when people are normally released. But the Home Office has powers to detain people who, foreign criminals, if they believe that they pose a risk to the public. So that's simply not true that they have to be released. They don't have to be released. My firm view is they should be kept in detention until we're able to remove them to Afghanistan.
Ivan, isn't one of the most ridiculous things about this absolutely horrific story that we just don't know the age of many of these young men who are coming across the English Channel, and if there's any doubt at all, it has to be assumed that they are a minor. The checks are only ever guesstimates. We won't do the medical checks that could tell us a little bit more accurately. Isn't it about time that the British government adopts this policy of going for these medical tests to give us a more accurate idea?
They used to. In fact, there was a dental test. When I was a young lawyer, we had a lot of people coming from Somalia and claiming to be Ethiopian, claiming to be much younger than they were. And the Home Office did carry out dental checks, which are quite accurate. But I think that you can use technology in this. AI can certainly be used to determine people's age by their appearance, about the sound of their voice. And I'm sure the technology can do that. But I just want to tackle the issue about this under 18. There seems to be a misconception that he can't be deported. Absolutely not true. You can deport somebody who's under 18 if the offence is serious, extremely serious, as is rape. If the deportation is considered by the Secretary of State to be for the public good, and if the person poses an ongoing risk. So that's simply not true. But the problem with both these men, and one claiming to be a boy, is that we don't have a returns agreement with Afghanistan. So even if we have a deportation order signed for both of them, even if we have everything ready for them to go there, I'm afraid we can't remove them. And so we're stuck with them until we get a returns agreement.
And a huge cost to the British taxpayer as well. Ivan Sampson, good to see you this morning.
Thanks,
Thank
Ivan.
you very much. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Well, now to grooming gangs, and ministers in Pakistan have reportedly suggested a quid pro quo deal that they'll accept rape gang offenders only if Britain hands over political dissidents.
While bringing this GB News exclusive is our national reporter, Charlie Peters. Very good morning to you, Charlie. What can you tell us?
Well, this is a long-running saga that the British government has been engaged with a Pakistani delegation, particularly from their Interior Ministry and the High Commission in London. But they've been negotiating with the British government over the deportation of grooming gang offenders and trying to get something for their own side in the process. Earlier this year, we revealed that the Pakistani government was trying to campaign for its flag carrier, Pakistan International Airlines, to return to Britain. It had been on the air safety list. It was prohibited from flying due to safety concerns for about 5 years. And they said that if the flag carrier returned, then a couple of particularly notorious offenders in Rochdale could be deported. They are Qari Ralph and Adil Khan. Now, since those debates were going on and that diplomacy was taking place earlier in the summer, Adil Khan has left the country. Greater Manchester Police did a routine check on his house in October and found that he was nowhere to be found. And it's now been said that he won't be allowed to return. And also the airline has resumed flights. What we're hearing now from Whitehall sources is that over the last few months, the Pakistani side have now changed their demand from the British government that they will only accept these deportations if a couple of political dissidents in London, a former minister and a prominent campaigner, are extradited to Pakistan. Now, it's long-running policy in Britain that they neither confirm nor deny the government when an extradition request has been made. But our sources have told GB News that this has been part of a long-running piece of diplomacy. More recent updates and sources from meetings with the High Commissioner shared by website Dropsite News were also revealed over the weekend. So it does seem that this is a very concerted and serious campaign by the Pakistani government.
Listen, I think many of our audience are going to be absolutely outraged at this. Effective, tantamount to blackmail from the Pakistani government here. Isn't it really about time that the British government gets tougher with Islamabad and says, you know, if you want to play hardball here, we are going to get really tough in terms of the visas, much more valuable to Pakistan than it is for the other way of operating.
Absolutely. All that fury could be matched with action by this government. And so far, it seems they've been more cautious and engaged with this diplomacy quietly in the background. We know that David Lammy and Hamish Faulkner, high level, the highest level of delegation you could possibly have, met with the Pakistani side about this ongoing diplomacy about deportations earlier this year. But it seems as though the Pakistani side in Islamabad are just taking this government for mugs, because there hasn't been that threat on the other side to say, we'll stop foreign aid, we'll apply a visa ban, powers available to them under the Nationality and Borders Act, introduced by the last government, but never used by the last government. So those powers are there. We have heard Shabana Mahmood speaking more sternly about those powers they have on African countries. But when you have a country trying to do deportation diplomacy over some of the most heinous offenders this country has, to react without your strongest card, it's a little bit curious.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie, thanks very much for bringing us that exclusive.
Thank you, Charlie. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, batten down the hatches as Storm Bram batters Britain. Poor Tony Maguire is out in the elements. Next.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to GB News Breakfast. Time now for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year so far, an incredible £85,000. Here's all the details you need to know to have a chance of winning it.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date with an incredible £85,000 to be won. That's right, £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you with your feet up, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. £85,000 is a massive amount of money and it could be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Blinds close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, severe weather warnings have been issued due to Storm Bram, which is currently battering Britain.
Gusts of up to 90 miles an hour, it is winter, are currently hitting northwest Scotland, but strong winds will be felt more widely than that. Well, of course, anytime there's a big wind blowing, we send our man Tony Maguire out there. Oh, God, poor Tony. You know, we do love you.
It doesn't feel that way right now, but we do.
We absolutely do.
Yeah, so you say, so you say. Well, I mean, I've got to say, I was just in the middle of writing up some words there. Actually, I kind of enjoy this kind of work, and certainly Storm Bram is really no different. This is going to be one of the milder ones. It's not going to feel like that if you're in Dartmoor or South Wales, and certainly not later on if you're in Northern Ireland and, of course, the northwest of Scotland, where those winds are expected to hit 90 miles an hour, specifically the gusts. But we're going to be feeling, as you said there, 60 60 to 70 mile an hour winds pretty much spread over. Now in Scotland at least it's pretty much a day of two halves. Before midday we're getting this driving rain. We've saved ourselves a little pocket of respite just now, but largely, as you saw earlier today and indeed later into the morning, it's going to be really driving rain across the entire country, and that's the way that it's going to stay for quite some time. But it's really the winds that are going to be I think the real damage maker later on. Now they're going to continue all the way into tomorrow, and that's going to be pretty much nationwide. Now we spoke earlier about the amber warnings, a new one being issued for the west of Northern Ireland and of course the northwest of Scotland. That one kicks in at around 4 p.m. So of course a lot of the transport networks that run across the island network all up the west of Scotland is already disrupted. Interestingly, one of the little ferries, which you can maybe just see docked behind me, it's still running across the water, but certainly a lot of the ferries, the alerts have been issued by Calmac, who operate the ferries across the west of Scotland. They have been cancelled, or amber warnings to expect delays. Same with ScotRail up the west coast. A number of lines go up to Mallaig, up towards the north, really almost at the Isle of Skye. Well, they are going to be cancelled from after 4 p.m. today because of the concern of those high winds that lines up with the high tides. Lots of wave action expected across the west coast of Scotland, but for most people we just need to batten down the hatches and grin and bear it for the next few hours.
Tony, you're a star. Get inside and go have a nice cup of tea or something. Go warm up.
He's a wee trooper.
Isn't he good? Thanks, Tony. Now, pub landlords have warned the government of dire consequences if planned increases in business rates come into force in 2026, saying they're going to face financial ruin.
Well, pub bosses say that financial ruin comes after Rachel Reeves' stealth tax in the budget as pint prices are ramped up, opening hours cut and staff laid off in a desperate attempt to keep things running. Well, our reporter Anna Riley joins us now. And Anna, what have we told you about hitting the pub this early on? Wait until at least 10 a.m.
Good morning to you both. I've got about 40 minutes to wait then and I can have my pint, can't I? You join us now at the Bay Horse pub in York. It's been here since 1540. You can see the Tudor architecture still here in place, but of course it's another of these pubs across the UK that have been hit by increased price rises, energy costs, as well as those changes to business rates next year. I'm joined now by Lorna Turnbull. She's the landlady. Lorna, just tell us about the struggles that your industry is facing.
So, as an industry in general, we've been hit very, very hard with the increase in the national, the decrease in the national insurance threshold for our employers. On top of that, we're now having to raise minimum wage again, which means roughly about another 30 pence per hour per member of staff. On top of that, we're now getting hit with a phenomenal business rate increase, higher bills, and just to add a bit of insult to injury, alcohol duty will go up, and eventually that will be passed down by the breweries onto us.
And how is it at the moment? You know, how are you finding things, especially looking ahead to next year? I know Christmas you'll be busier, but what's the outlook for the future?
The outlook for the future, and it's bleak. It is bleak. Perhaps, you know, my individual pub personally, it might not be as affected, but there's pubs out there, and I assure you the business rate will be the icing on the cake for them, the nail in the coffin, whatever phrase you want to use. We're in industry and we cannot take any more. We are saturated. We've given you everything we've got, and they just want more and more out of us, and it's just simply not there. It's just simply not there.
Thank you so much, Lorna. We're going to be in this pub throughout the rest of the day, maybe with a pint in a little bit as well, just speaking to landlords, Lorna, other landlords as well, just about the struggles that the pub industry is currently facing.
All right, Anna Riley, thank you very much indeed. Well, this leads us to our poll of the day today. Would you pay more for a pint to save your pub? That's our You Decide poll today. So get in touch, let us know yes or no. If you do want to become a friend of GB News, you can do that for free, and that's how you take part in these polls. Here's how.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on your say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
Well, Britain's newsroom is next with Andrew and Miriam. What you got this morning, guys?
Good morning, both of you. Well, we're going to be looking at this story from Scotland. Finally, the trans women are not a risk in the change room, says the NHS. We'll see about that. Lots coming up.
And we're going to the weather, of course, very important today.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Bram is now moving across the UK with multiple yellow and amber warnings, risk of flooding and disruptive, even damaging winds during the rest of the day. Initially, it's a wet and windy day across all parts, particularly towards the north and the west. That's where outbreaks of rain continue through the morning and into the afternoon. South Wales, Dartmoor, the focus for the greatest risk of flooding, but could be transport disruption from the rain for many. And then that wet weather eases off into the afternoon, but it's at this stage that the winds pick up. The southwesterly winds will at least bring mild weather with them, 16, even 17 Celsius in the afternoon, but it's going to turn particularly gusty into the evening, and the main cause for concern, northwest Scotland, where there is the risk of 80 to 90 mile/hour wind gusts peaking during the evening. Those winds could cause dangerous conditions around coasts, widespread disruption, power outages, as well as the risk of flying debris. And it's not just northwest Scotland, many parts of the UK, particularly towards the west, at risk of seeing 50, 60 mile/hour wind gusts, 70 around exposed coasts. As I say, the wind's peaking during the evening, but it continues to be very windy overnight, particularly again towards the north and west of Scotland, where frequent showers will be moving through. Showers elsewhere as well, but drier towards the south and east. And a blustery start to Wednesday, but temperatures starting to come down now as fresher air begins to move in, 9 to 12 Celsius first thing. And then Wednesday is a blustery day. The strong winds still affecting northwest Scotland for a time, but eventually easing into the afternoon as Bram pulls away. Those blustery, gusty winds continuing to bring frequent showers, particularly to northern parts of the UK, but the showers tending to ease off across many parts of England and Wales by the afternoon. Sunshine reappears, temperatures reaching 12 to 13 Celsius. Not as mild as Tuesday, but sunnier at least.
Expect warm spells